No matter your scale, subject or skill level, you're among fellow benchmates. Welcome to Beyond the Box Art, the Scale Modelers Podcast. Welcome to episode 35, and we are joined by Margot and Robert Crombeecke for a fascinating chat on the upcoming Scale Model Challenge show. Please welcome Brownie, your host and designated Chaos Coordinator, together with Balders, Dan, Nevs and Shane. 5 modelers, several opinions, very little restraint.
Hi Benchmates, and welcome to episode 35 of Beyond the Box Art. Before we bring in the rest of the crew, we need to start with something that has genuinely taken us a little bit by surprise. Since the last episode, which was the first ever IPMS Presidents Round Table, we've been absolutely inundated with emails, private messages and comments from listeners around the globe. Firstly, thank you. What began as an idea to bring the presidents of IPMS UK and USA together for an open conversation seems to have struck a much bigger chord than many of us expected. And perhaps the most important thing to come out of all these messages is that it wasn't a one-off. The IPMS Presidents Round Table will now become an annual feature of the show, giving national IPMS organisations the opportunity to come together, talk openly about the hobby, share ideas, discuss the challenges they face, and hopefully learn a little from one another. And we want to make it absolutely clear, this is not an invitation-only conversation between a handful of countries. This is open to every national IPMS president around the world. Just in case this isn't picked up by every IPMS president, it'd be a miracle if it was, and you are listening in a country you don't think has responded to us yet, please drop your president an email, tell them about the show, tell them to get involved. Just drop us an email to info@beyondtheboxart.com and we'll add you to the invitation list. Because if the reaction to the first conversation taught us anything, is that modelers want to hear organisations talking with each other rather than simply talking about each other. So to John and Rich, thanks very much for helping to get the first one off the ground. And to everybody who emailed, messaged, commented and shared the episode, thank you. You've helped turn what was originally an experiment into something that will hopefully become an important annual conversation with the international modelling community. Right then, that's enough sensible behaviour for one episode. Let's bring in the rest of the rabble. So for this episode, I'm joined by Shane.
How's it going, Benchmates?
Dan.
Hello, Benchmates.
Boulders.
Hi, Benchmates.
And the return of Nevs.
Hi, troops.
Troops? We've just suddenly been enlisted.
Yeah, into the Benchmates army. Yeah. Scalpels and paintbrushes at the ready.
Oh dear, it's going to be one of those evenings. Anyway, let's start like we normally do with what we've got on our benches. I'm going to start for a change with me. I've had a kit delivery today.
Good job I sat down, Brownie.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh.
Yes.
I've done some, I took my heart meds.
And it's come from Canada. 1/32 scale.
It's not another Mercery Cup stuff, is it?
No.
Honestly, it's right.
I'm not worried about it because it's Dan this year.
Yeah, it's coming my way, that one.
Oh, yes. And it's not long till we find out what it is because the US Nationals is only, as we record this, just over a week away.
Oh, is it? At least I'm last.
Oh my God. I've got enough going on as well at the moment. Anyway, carry on.
So from Canada?
Yes. Okay. Anyway, from Canada, 1/32 scale Joycraft Canada C114 Tutor, as operated by the Snowbirds display team. A very, very nice 3D printed kit. Perspex is injection molded. The decals are cartograph. It is beautiful. And there's
No wavy lines. No.
Such a cool scheme.
no wavy lines.
That's good then.
It is really absolutely top notch. Really, really pleased with it. The trouble I'm having is finding absolutely any reference photographs of any quality for the CT114.
It's not an aircraft that's covered mainly, is it? Because obviously the Snowbirds had it, but that's, as far as I'm aware, that's the only aircraft that I've ever seen a picture of, but There's no reference material. It's quite scarce.
Well, the Canadian Air Force and the Armed Forces, as they were for a long period of time from the 60s onwards, operated the type for training up until about 15 years ago now, I believe. I've probably got that horribly wrong, and I'm expecting emails on that already.
I'll have a look now.
And there was one export customer, which was Malaysia, had them. But beyond that, nobody operated the type. They never did a European tour with the aircraft because they didn't have the range to get across here. So hopefully with their new aircraft, which will be the PC-21, around about 2030, I think it is, because they're being disestablished this year at the end of the 2026 season. So the Snowbirds are taking a hiatus for a few years, then they'll get the new aircraft and then they'll be back operational, but they will have the range to get to Europe. If borders.
Just so you don't get bombarded with emails, it was actually 2000 the aircraft was retired.
2000, so the Snowbirds have been operating them onward since then.
Yeah, in May 26, Canada announced to produce the CT-157 Siskin 2, which is a Pilatus PC-21.
So, yep. So hopefully my friend Ed, who's over in Moose Jaw in Canada, will be taking some photographs of undercarriage bays for me and to get a few little detailed shots, because his name is on the decal sheet because he was Snowbird 10 for the Canadian Air Force's 100th anniversary year. So 3 guesses which airframe I'm building.
An high-speed silver one.
No. It's going to be the current scheme for the Snowbirds.
Are you doing the Snowbirds?
Oh, yes.
Quite like the old schemes, with the red and the
Silver.
Oh, then I've seen the Golden Eagles one with the gold on the top with the red and then the blue underneath.
Yes, it's a nice scheme. It is a nice scheme, but yeah, that's what I'm going for. So that's going to be on my bench when I get home as I'm after a week away at work again, and I should be hitting him with that one. Other than that, I haven't spent anything because I paid for this over a year ago. So spending-wise, nothing, because it's been prepaid. So with that, let's go on to our next victim, Shane.
Well, on the bench is still the Challenger 2, and the build's pretty much done actually. So I just need to wait for a window that isn't completely roasting hot to get some paint down. So yeah, I've got it on the bench next to me here. I'm looking forward to getting painting, to be honest with you. So yeah, taking my time with it, enjoying the process, learning a lot as I go. Just ask Mr. Brazil some of the silly questions I feel like I've been asking him.
Has he got you on the right tracks?
Hey. Well, I saved the casting markings from Shane. I think he was about to carve them off on the top, and I said, no, leave them on there. They're supposed to be there.
Honestly, I was like, Dan, this might seem like a really silly question, but... And he was like, no, can't type quick enough. Leave them on there.
There's no such thing as a silly question.
There isn't in modelling because not everybody knows, do they? So
Exactly.
No. But yeah, so that's what's on the bench, and I'm going to be taking a project away with me on holiday because we're going on our family holiday in a couple of days' time, and I've got a third-party kit which I actually bought at Telford, which is a 1/100 scale new Gundam. It's a third-party kit, so I can just take that box and a set of nippers and some sanding sticks with me on holiday and sit there and enjoy the hobby whilst I'm on holiday chilling out. So looking forward to getting into that. And then cash-wise, I have mainly been buying paint sets for the Challenger. I've done a bit of research and I actually bought myself the Vallejo US Modern Desert Colours. And before anyone says the Challenger isn't US, I know that. It's just because the nearest match on paint that I can get that's from Tamiya to Vallejo is actually a mixture between Vallejo's 71-122, which is the US Desert Arm, and 71-140, which is US Desert Sand. So I'm going to do a little bit of mixing, but yeah, that's the reason I went for that kit. So a bit of research, and that's what came on trumps for me. So yeah, I'm really looking forward.
are you going to prime it?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Dark Earth,
Yeah.
and then yeah, I'm going to go with US Earth Yellow, Desert Sand, and then use the US Desert Arm colour to pick out the highlights. And then there's actually in the box as well is Vallejo's 71-132, which is aged white, which will really pick out the the army lighter colours on the desert scheme. So
Yeah.
Looking forward to getting my teeth into it. But I think it's probably realistically it's going to be a good few weeks before I get any painting done. Obviously with the holiday in between, but it's also like 28 degrees in the house at the minute, so it's a bit too hot really.
So where are you going on your holidays then?
Holly Bob's is down to the Isle of Wight.
Ah,
It's a bit of a family tradition. We've been going now for 14 years or something ridiculous. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. We had a nice family weekend leading up to it. We were at Duxford on Friday for the US flying day. And I mentioned to you guys before the recording started, we actually spent Sunday at the Glenn Miller Museum, which is only about sort of 10, 15 miles from where I live, over the back of Bedford at Twinwoods. And growing up in sort of Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire all my life, I didn't even know it existed. The place is phenomenal and it's run by volunteers. The amount of history there is amazing. And for those of you that, like Dan, like to go visit different places, it's only a couple of miles from Furley, or the American Furley, and you can pop in and go and visit it. It's a $5, and I honestly can't speak highly enough of it. There's just so much to see and do there. The boys had a great time. I was flabbergasted the whole day, and that all came about because we were out doing a model expo from the Bedford Model Club. So really, really interesting, fun day out on Sunday. So yeah, bit of history building up for me there.
I was just looking on the Isle of Wight. You've got 5 model shops on the island.
No, it's ridiculous. There's more model shops per square mile in the Isle of Wight than there is anywhere else in the UK.
There is a few upstairs, downstairs. There's quite a few model clubs on the island as well.
Mm.
Quite a few model clubs. Yeah, I will be paying a visit to upstairs, downstairs at the very least, because that is also a bit of a tradition. We'd definitely be going in there.
There's pit stop models as well. Pit stop.
Yeah, what's the one in Cowes as well? Just off the high street in Cowes. Can't think of the name of that one.
There's retro hobby and game, sprues and glues. And if you, depending on the time, are you going on the ferry?
Yeah.
Depending on what time you get into Portsmouth, there's also the model shop in Portsmouth.
Well, we're going from Southampton.
Ah, okay. So not that one then.
So not that one. Yeah. So from Southampton into Cowes. So yeah, I'll be doing that. But the retro hobby and game actually is really good. We do go there as well. They've got some really cool things in there.
So your Gundam that you're taking, are you not painting it then?
No, the third party kit that I've got, the variety of colours that are on this sprues are incredible. And there's all sort of metallic colours as well. So there's metallic gold, metallic red, like deep orange colours as well. Yeah, and I've seen pictures of it made up, and it doesn't need painting. It will have a few decals on it. The kit comes with some beautiful waterside decals, so I'll be adding those onto them. But yeah, it's just perfect for, let's say, just a couple of sanding sticks, some nippers, a knife, and off we go. Jacob's obviously got a model that he's going to be taking with him as well. Just need to find a suitable one for Edward to fit in the car.
Well, I may have a suggestion for that.
Oh, go on then.
I'd go with one of the blockies, because William just got the blockies Iron Man.
Yes, oh yeah.
And it's really, really nice. Yeah, really.
Excellent. Well,
Star Wars ones are nice as well. My other half built the Mandalorian. Comes with 2 Grogus. So you can have one sat on your shoulder, or you can have one on the floor.
I remember doing it on the stash actually that was must have been about 4 or 5 months ago, but yeah, I remember talking about that one on the stash, yeah.
They're here now, yeah.
And the Darth Vader as well. The Darth Vaders. Some of them look a bit toyish like.
Yeah.
Thor looks nothing like Thor. That looks a bit toyish, but the Iron Man, the Spider-Man, the Batman, Deadpool looks absolutely class.
Oh yeah.
But for the money,
we are working our way through the Marvel films at the moment, and Iron Man I think will be very popular. So that's a really good shout, that.
I'll just give a little tip with those, because William didn't like the shiny finish on, not his Iron Man, he's got one of the Spider-Man ones as well, and he wanted it in a matte sort of finish like Spider-Man's suit. And I bought Mr. Hobby, the rattle can of the Mr. Hobby matte finish, and gave it some light coats. It matted it down beautifully, but it did start to clog up some of the articulation points on it.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a, I mean, it's fine. He doesn't sort of, he poses them a few times and stuff like that, but it just made it a little bit sort of stiffer to be able to pose.
Yeah, keep that in mind. Edward will, I'm sure, want to actually play with his.
Actually play with it. Yeah.
That's a really good shout. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and going back to the Challenger 2,
Yes.
I've actually found all the data from the British Armour SIG, because the Challenger 2s, the second goal, were a lot yellower than the Americans. So I've got the ratios here of the Tamiya paints to mix it if you want it.
The Tamiya ones. Yeah. Send it over, because I mean, I'm just looking at my desk here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 different types.
Read them out anyway, Boulders, because I'm sure there'll be benchmates that might want to use the Tamiya.
Yeah, read them out. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tamiya Desert Yellow is 70%. So if you're doing in drops of paint, I would do 7 drops of paint.
Yeah.
20% of deck tan and 10% of buff. If you want to lighten in certain areas, I would just drop the deck tan to like 10%, and then just mix it, and that gives you that yellow tinge to the desert sand.
Yeah.
Obviously, for Challenger 1, you would drop the desert yellow a bit, so say like 60%, and add more deck tan. So I'd go to like 25% and then 15% of buff.
I'm going to have a look at comparing them to the Vallejo colours that I've got here, because that's effectively what I did. I just did TS46, like the Tamiya light sand, compared to like Vallejo. I looked at the paint charts, did a load of research, and it churned out quite a few. But yeah, you're right, the yellowy element is really important, and that's what I quite like about like the aged white, because that has got a very sort of like it's the yellow side of white, if that makes sense.
Like I say, I've used that for the Challenger 2 that I did with a Academy Warrior. And I just got a piece of MDF, got some wet and dry sandpaper, glued it down, bit of sand down the side, put a sign on that said Baghdad, so many miles that way, with bullet holes in it. And I called it the Highway to Hell. And yeah, it did pretty well.
Have you thought about weathering, Shane?
Yeah, thought about weathering. I think I'm going to play around with the modulation on the paint, but weathering wise, I'm looking at the oils and using the same technique as Black Rifle used, where again, like the oils, leave it on sort of 40 minutes or so, and then you get your thinners, go over it, let it all drip in. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go. I've got some
good. Yeah,
I've got some pencils as well for like chipping, so I've got some of those, and I'll also use the sponging technique as well. But I'll mix it up with obviously some metals, but I think more like the green, like the dark earth, because obviously that's when it chipped away, that's what you would have seen.
If you're a bit unsure of how any of it's going to look, if you spray the bottom of the hull in the colour as well, that you can just flip it over and just try, because it just gives you a little, because it is that exact same paint surface, it's that exact same colour as what you've put on the top.
Yeah, I was going to do that, and also use the underneath of the turret.
Separate a little area to try. Are you going to go with what we would call the oil dot rendering sort of technique? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You're going to put any pigments on?
It depends how good my paint job is. No, I think
pigments are a faff.
Well, the thing is with a pigment can hide a multitude of sins. So the thing is about armor's never, you can make a mistake on armor and you can recover it beautifully.
Well, I am tempted.
You can't do it on aircraft.
I am tempted with the pigments.
Well, you can't hide a crap build, Boulders. I know people use that as a...
Yeah, it depends. It's not being funny, but nobody can cock up a Challenger 2 from Tamiya, for God's sake. It's a shake and bake kit.
No.
Challenge accepted, Boulders.
Oh, dear. You haven't glued the tracks on backwards, have you?
But do you know what? The reason... Going back to your pigments... did it only go one way?
Easy to pop off and pour back round. Polycap.
Going back to the pigments thing, right? So obviously with the Chally 2, you've got the side skirts, which are obviously fabric, and I think that would look a lot better with like a pigment layer on them. That would give you that element of realism.
Get you that dusty look on the rubber skirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also on top as well, Shane, because they were covered in sand on top.
Yeah.
So you can If you've got a bit too much oil in a corner that you can't really get out, just drop pigment in it, a bit of pigment setter, and just have it so that it's collecting sand and dust and everything else.
I mean, it's going to be a completely different just like approach from me, because I'm, as you guys know, aircraft and Gundam, that you can get a bit creative on the Gundam side of things. Aircraft wise, you know, you're looking at a lot of reference pictures, but generally speaking, the level of weathering, you can easily overdo it without doing too much on an aircraft. So I've always been quite restrained in that respect. So I'm really looking forward to a different approach and letting loose a little bit. Yeah. So we'll see how we go.
Yeah, there's so many fantastic images online that you can just pick and choose certain elements for. They've got a black rubber portion that goes just in front of where the tracks go in over the top of the mud guards. I mean, they're very, very rarely black. You start off with grey and then they'll be covered in dust and whatnot. And it does rain in the desert.
Yeah, I think let's say some of the videos, the research I've done, yeah, the greys and the tan colours instantly, like straight through. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there's probably going to be a few episodes before I get to that point in terms of the pod. But yeah, I just need the weather to break and I can actually get some paint on it.
I don't know what you're complaining about. It's only been 17 degrees over here all day.
Yeah, lucky you.
20 up here, Brown, where we are. Well, obviously where you live. It's been 20, but humidity's been absolutely awful today.
Thankfully, I'm down here on the coast near Cardigan in Wales. It's had a nice sea breeze most of the day, so it's been rather temperate. But I believe you're going to get up to about sort of 33, 34 on Thursday.
Thursday, yeah. I'll be in a marquee tent on Wednesday lunchtime, cooking.
Drinking?
Yeah. Well, no, Wednesday's my graduation for my MBA, so I will have my ridiculously heavy gown and my mortarboard on with a big hood, so I'm going to be very warm, but we're looking forward to it. So that's kind of like our Wednesday. We're going to a graduation. The kids are coming, which is going to be lovely. And yeah, we're gonna have a little family sort of celebration. Come home, swap cars, load the dog in to my car, and then drive down to the ferry for hollybobs. So it's a very fun packed day.
So you need to go on holiday to be able to do some modelling.
Yeah, exactly that.
But we need a graduation photo for the Benchmate site.
Yeah, I know, of course. I'm sure I can do that. Just bear in mind, it probably won't look 1-to-1 scale for a lot of you. Yeah. Nevs, before you say it.
It was on the tip of my tongue. Celebrating scale modelling in all of its shapes and sizes. So.
Including the scale of the modellers.
Yeah. 2 years of hard work. So I'm looking forward to celebrating that. So yeah.
Congratulations, mate. Well done.
Indeed.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, well, once we've got you, Nevs, and you're still awake, I know you had an early start today, so over to you. What have you got on the bench? As it's been a while, hopefully it's in decent progress.
Well, it depends on your definition of progress. But just for the benefit of listeners, I have been awake for just shy of 19 hours.
Oh, we have to get the violin out now. We get the orchestra going.
So Brownie's going to be speechless now because I've actually listened to his advice. The ships have gone to the back of the workbench, and what is on the front is a Tamiya A6M50.
Nice kit.
You wanted a palette cleanser?
Very nice. And yeah, it is definitely a palette cleanser. When you become a naval modeler, you get used to running a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm still trying to get used to actually having parts that can fit together and bits of the build be done within an hour or two. That is out of my comfort zone now. So as you guys know, when I do aircraft, I do them in 70-second scale. So these kind of kits are perfect for me. And I always try and model them in flight. So I always do the pilots. Obviously, the majority of these don't come with pilot figures. So part of the purchases I've made over the last sort of 2 weeks, 3 weeks is Redbox actually do a pack of IJN crew pilots, which is absolutely great. So I've got a pilot on the workbench as well for it. He's waving as he goes along. So obviously, as with my naval subjects, I definitely go down a rabbit hole once I've got these things on the bench. So when I was going to do the zeros or, whatever Japanese naval aviation subject I was going to do was going to be from 601 Kokutai, which is the naval air group which was formed for Shinano. And it had service aboard carriers like the Taiho, which was sunk at Battle of Philippine Sea. Some of its aircraft served on carriers like the Unryu and the Amagi. So it's a really fascinating air group. And the time that I'm modelling the A6M5-4, the tail codes on the aircraft literally said 601 dash whatever the next aircraft was. So I'm doing it sequentially and doing 601-01 for the first zero. So a lot of the research I've done, the aircraft numbers don't follow like a logical sequence. You might get 01, 02, we know were A6M5 zeros. You jump to maybe 05, and that might be a Nakajima B6N Tenzan. Obviously, because they're within the same naval air group, they carry the same codes, and there was never a thought, okay, the first fighter squadron will be codes 1 through to 12. There wasn't any of that kind of organisation, which is good, because when I eventually do multiple subjects from the same air group, you can have a real diversity of codes. So I could start with 60101 and then jump to 601141 if I want something completely different. So, and funnily enough, even though it's the Mitsubishi A6M5, by that stage of the war, Nakajima were building the majority. So even though you might buy all the paints thinking, okay, I need a Mitsubishi cockpit green or whatever it is, waste of money. You need a Nakajima interior green because they were all painted in Nakajima colours, which in some ways is easier because the cowling on a Mitsubishi Zero, when it's a Mitsubishi built one, it's this quite enigmatic black green colour. It's not quite black, it's not green, it's got a bit of a pearlescent shade to it, but the Nakajima ones were just flat black, so a lot easier. So yeah.
Did it chip, Nevs, that cowling? Because I've obviously got the big old Tamiya 32nd one to do, and need to get my head around that at some point. Was it known for chipping, that cowling?
Funnily enough, so I think part of the reason Brownie wanted me to do an A6M5 is that we have a little book here that you want me to review on chipping techniques and one of the big things in that is an A6M50. Now, the greens that the Japanese Navy used were notorious for just chipping like mad, and the IGA greens as well. The cowling you never see chipping on.
Right, okay.
Only ever. And part of the reason as well is the fabric of these aircraft was so thin that honestly just standing on the airframe dented it and caused all sorts of problems, to the point where they actually integrated pull-out footstools to get into the thing to avoid damaging them. But, you know, when you descend down these rabbit holes, you just become obsessed, don't you? So I'm obsessed with the engineering that goes into it. And you just hear all of these sort of Western approaches to like the A6M0, like, oh, it was a lighter, it was, you know, it was outdated, it was obsolete, but we were still flying an airframe in 1945 that had been designed in 1937.
Exactly. Now, were the Zeros primered, or was it just metal with paint put on top? Because I seem to remember something about for speed in production. They literally just put paint straight onto metal.
Yeah, and that explains why you get that chipped appearance as well. So I think that book that you're asking me to review, it starts with just the primed undercoat. Now, for me, when I'm doing the assembly, that makes it a bit tricky because, like I say, the cowling is just treated so differently. It's a very different paint mixture, so you can't just literally tarnish the entire thing with one brush. You have to treat that as a separate part of the airframe and the engine. I'm going to treat all of that differently to the rest of the build. So yeah, I'm going to prime the rest of it in a metallic silver. I'm actually going to buy some of the ammo chipping fluid because I've seen some of the technique videos for that, which looks quite good.
Yeah.
Then apply the Nakajima green over the top and see what comes out.
That'll work quite well, I think. You said you're doing it in flight as well, Nevs?
Nebs. The cowlings, were they not the cowling black?
Yeah, the cowling is in black on the Nakajima built ones, which it's strange because you think Mitsubishi is going to be the majority if the majority of them are going to be built by them, and why would it be built by a competitor? It would be like Focke-Wulf building the majority of BF-109s. It sounds strange, but Nakajima just had the production capacity, and if you actually look at the two colours, aesthetically, I prefer the Nakajima one because it's that dark green, whereas the Mitsubishi one is actually a much lighter green. Whereas in the cockpits, the Nakajima cockpit is lighter and the Mitsubishi one's darker. And there's no mixing and matching. You can't mix and match it. It's either a Nakajima built aircraft or a Mitsubishi built aircraft. So,
yeah, Mr. Colour do all the colours. They do the full Nakajima range and they do the full Mitsubishi range. So they have both greens, both cockpit greens. The one for me is the Ataki blue for inside the airframe, as that is debatable.
You see, you have to be careful with it. So obviously, I'm doing it in flight. I always like to do aircraft in flight because, yes, they might have spent the majority of the time on the ground, or in the Japanese case, either in the sea or blown up somewhere. But they were designed for flight. So what?
No, they were.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to depict it in flight? So I avoid a lot of that Tory blue debate by doing it in flight.
Go on, Brownie. Sorry, I'll let you go.
I was just going to say, he's only in practicing for the new kit he's going to be talking about in the Stash Inflation from Aoshima, the new...
It's not... So this is a big bugbear of mine, particularly with Aoshima. The translation comes across as renewal version. It should just come across as Reeboks. Their idea of renewal is you chuck in a little fret of what they say is upgrade parts. It's just a retooled 25mm gun mount, which you can have the most highly detailed 25mm gun in the world. It doesn't detract from the fact that the rest of it is an early 2000s or 90s tooling.
But the aircraft carriers actually got decals for their 1/700th aircraft on the deck.
Yeah, I know you're a bit of a novice when it comes to naval subjects, apart from actually building a ship with me when you built Indianapolis. But yes, they do come with decals, and a lot of particularly the Flyhawk stuff now. I've just brought in the Enterprise for the shop. That has, in 700th, the little squadron, I don't want to call them squadron codes because that's a bit of a misnomer for the US, but the air group codes it has in 700th. For those aircraft. So yeah, they're doing it at that tiny scale.
Wow.
Nev, so you know that sorry, just going back to, you know that Aotaki blue or green? That was a protective primer, wasn't it? I'm sure I read it was like a primer that...
Yeah, generally inside the airframe. So the only one...
Yeah, but didn't it, but I'm not sure which way round. I would imagine it went on blue, but didn't it sort of degrade and almost change to a greeny colour over time? So that gives you... Is that right or not? Have I misread that?
I've seen shades varying from like a glossy metallic blue,
yeah,
to quite often a turquoisey colour, through to a dull green, like you say.
Right. Yeah.
So like Boulders is saying, a lot of it, if you're doing it with its gear down in the wheel,
yeah,
bays, I don't know what you call them for aircraft models, but in the wheel wells there. Also, these are carrier aircraft, so they carry the arrestor gear towards the rear, which it's not just a stick out of the aircraft. A lot of the times they could retract into the aircraft, so the area around that, and of course the rear wheel bay as well.
Yep.
You'd be looking at doing that. But yeah, thankfully, because I'm doing it in flight, not much of that's going to be seen. And to be honest, I do think when you get later in the war to the A6M5s, a lot of it they're just doing that cockpit colour as well.
Oh, really?
Well, yeah. If you want to look at, if you can try and find a video, Kermit Weeks has got a 0.
Oh, okay.
And he goes through it and says, like, you know, regarding the Ataki blue, because he's got one in bits.
Yeah.
And you're able to see through the rear undercarriage bay, to see down the fuselage, the main wheel wells.
Yeah.
But I didn't know, and this was only recently, that on the 0, especially the naval version, they had 3 stripes on the undercarriage panel.
Yeah.
And that was to show how much fuel was actually in the aircraft. So if the top of the wheel was at the bottom of the blue line, then they knew that aircraft was light on fuel. If it was at the red, they knew that it was ready to go.
Ah, okay.
How clever's that? Because if you're literally in the Pacific and you've got Americans coming at you and you need to get aircraft up and you're going to say, well, which ones aren't, which one's fueled and everything else to go, all they had to do was look at the undercarriage panels for the main gear and they say, right, that one's ready to go, and they get them up. So they would get up while they were refueling the rest. And I just thought it was an ingenious idea.
So simple, but so effective.
So effective, exactly.
Yeah. And you just reminded me, is there an A6M3 you're building, Nevs?
No, because I was about to say A6M3 negates a lot of the advantages of the range. It's an A6M5.
Right.
Which itself, they all have little derivatives as well. So there's the A6M5A, B and C. So this is more or less sort of A6M5, and then it goes into A6M5A, which are kind of the same. So it's A6M5, this one.
Right.
They look exactly the same, all the zeros, in fairness. It's not like you got a Spitfire Mark 1 to a Mark 9 and you're like, well, it's just a Spitfire. You can see the differences. For me, for a zero, they all look exactly the same, apart from the one that's got the little winglets that come up on the end, which is obviously the navalised version.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just interested to find out about your displaying in flight. So how are you going to do that? Are you going to do a prop blur for the front of it, or?
I'm thinking about that. Yeah. I mean, you've seen the half-built Spitfire, haven't you, with the wooden base? So I've got the same wooden base again. The idea will be, because they're hexagonal, you can put them in formation flying. Yeah, they're never going to fly wingtip to wingtip in real life, but just for sake of display. So I've got the acrylic rod, and then they're magnetized at the top. And these neodymium magnets, however you pronounce it, very strong, even though they're tiny. So, and it makes painting and things a lot easier because you can just lift it off, paint it. If you want the top to dry, keep it on there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get a display little nameplate put on one side of them to say, okay, this is aircraft 601-01 from 601 Cockatoo from November of 1944 or January of 1945. And I'm going to use some of the sea basing techniques that Wongi have come up with for the base. The only problem is, do I then have to do all of the bases at once, because all the waves need to go the same way, the same sort of color modulation? If I was to do one base at a time, one's fighting at Tinny and the other one's fighting at Iwo Jima, it look different. So that's the only problem with that.
Well, instead of acrylic rod, you could mount it on a chopstick, couldn't you?
I think I have done at one point.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've all.
I think I did. A skewer, yeah.
Or as the Japanese would call it, a hashi.
Yeah, a hashi. You do know that the Zero was influenced by a British aircraft. Yes. There's a lot of debate on where the Zero design came from. And even the Japanese themselves have looked at the design of a British aircraft, and there's more than 15 points of design that go to this aircraft. And it's called the Gloucester F5/34. And if you look at it, you'll see exactly what it looks like, because it's so uncanny, it is unbelievable.
I think I've seen this, and you're right.
Oh my God, I've just Googled it.
See?
I think you're right, because it literally just...
The F5/34 Gloucester was designed in the late 30s. It never went ahead. There was 2 prototypes built, and because the Hurricane and the Spitfire were coming out, it got shelved. Could you imagine if Gloucester had have actually produced it for naval combat? Might have been a bit of a different history regarding, considering we had the Rock, the Skewer.
And model kit wise, is it Planet Models do that kit?
Yes, they did. Planet Models did a resin kit of it. But I think...
In 1/72 scale?
Yeah, it needs to be 32nd. I think that needs to be 3D printed. I think somebody needs to bring that out because it's so uncanny.
It is.
If you put that in area markers, they go, oh, it's a Zero. No, it's not. It's a Gloucester F5/34.
No, yeah. And what a different subject to be on a table or in a display cabinet. Very, very.
Exactly, because it'll get people to...
Absolutely, yeah.
From the spinner, the cowl, to the high point of the cockpit, the tail section, it's just so uncanny. It's unbelievable.
That is crazy.
isn't it? Our British aircraft actually caused the Japanese to. But the thing is, the Japanese could have nicked the drawings. You don't know with stuff like that, with spies, and thought, well, this will be good because, all right, the Zero had no armor, but yeah, it could outturn pretty much everything. And the way they were doing aerial combat, it was unbelievable. And it was only for a guy that was an aircraft mechanic that managed to tweak something on the P-38 Lightning. The Lightning then could outturn a Zero. There was so much slack in the rear rudder and the elevator at the back that the guy pinched it, tightened it up, and then took the guy to go up, and they just outturned. Then the Japanese absolutely crapped themselves because then the P-38s were knocking the Zeros out the sky quicker than anything else. And it turned the tide of the war within 9 months. It's just bizarre how everything comes to fruition, basically. Sorry for rabbits, but I know it can be boring, but...
That's fascinating. There's only 2 of the F534s built, of which registration for the most photographed one was K5604. I can't remember what the other was, but registration is virtually the same as the prototype Spitfire. It's in the same reign.
Don't tell Mark at Qatari he'll want to produce it as a kit.
I think even this is a little bit obscure for Mark, I think.
I don't know. Some of the stuff he was looking at Telford while we were talking to commercial airliners and whatnot. So
good point. Well made. Yes.
Yeah. The F5/34 was designed by the same guy that did the Fallen Gnat.
Teddy Petter.
Wow.
There's a useless fact.
Oh, no. Sorry. No, it wasn't. It's the guy who designed it went on to do the Folland Aircraft Company, which then did the Fallen Gnat. Because it was Henry Folland that...
Yes.
That designed... He worked for Gloucester at the time, did the F5/34, and then obviously went on to create the Folland Aircraft Company that produced the Fallen Gnat, which then got swallowed up by Hawker Siddeley.
And that is why there were only ever... The fighter variant were called Folland Gnats. All of the Royal Air Force Gnats were Hawker Siddeley Gnats. Every single kit that's got Folland on, including a large quantity of kits by a kit company with big red boxes, have all got it wrong. The nameplate inside the aircraft is firmly stamped Hawker Siddeley on the construction plate, not Folland. But on with that one. Nevs, have you been actually spending any cash?
Yeah.
I can't believe you've gone a month and actually haven't spent anything.
No, unfortunately I have. I don't spend at the model shows, but like I say, so I got the red box. I got the IGA crew as well, which I'm not as much of a fan of, but like I say, I would recommend the IGN crew if you do want to depict your aircraft either in flight or on the ground, because they've got mechanics with them as well. Recently got a big shipment in from China for the business, so I do usually put my money where my mouth is.
Easy for you to say.
So I picked up some of the Flyhawk kits. I got the Admiral Scheer in 700 scale, which was interesting. I'm not a big fan of the Deutschland class, I must be honest. I don't find them very aesthetically pleasing, but the Admiral Scheer, with it being a little more obscure than the Graf Spee, is interesting. HMS Legion, which I've been after for a while. I do like the British destroyers all the way from the Tribals through to the M class.
A very famous destroyer as well, because it was the last one to get the crew off the Ark Royal when she got...
Yeah, and that's on the box art. So that'll be an interesting build. I do prefer the Tribals and the K class for having the slightly bigger gun mounts rather than anti-aircraft mounts, but nevertheless. And then the other big purchase for the shop, getting a big range of the S model kits. I don't know if you've heard of them. They do armor kits in 72nd scale, and they're really fascinating because they pick the most obscure subjects that just don't get covered, and they give you 2 in a box. So they're kind of a little bit like the Italy fast build ones, but there's more detail to them, and they've got a little bit of photo etch as well. So I picked up for both to have a look at myself and for the shop. There's a whole range of the Panzer 1s in both the early production variant, the Aus B as well, one that served with the Africa Corps with the fuel tanks on the back. For the shop, got the Panzer II, got the Panzer III. They do lots of different subjects. They even do the M113, which is, you'd know from like Vietnam in terms of the AFEs. So I just got a whole range of those. So I picked up 2 of each, and I might get round to building one if I fancy it. I do quite fancy building a Panther 1 in the desert. Perhaps, I'm sure I've seen a picture of one that's captured by the Americans, and it has some stars on the turret, and I think that would be really interesting. But you can also do, obviously the Chinese had them, and some of those were captured by the Japanese, so you can do a third-hand tank produced in Germany, served in China, paraded in Tokyo. That would be an interesting build as well.
Be a hell of a big plate on the bottom of the kit.
Well, just to explain what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a question for you. I've noticed, being a non-armour builder, in the last few years we're seeing a proliferation of 148th armour, and now people seem to be shifting across from the 176 to 172nd. Is that because of the number of aircraft models and stuff that you've actually got available, in the reverse way that the 135th is now starting to be for aircraft onto armour? Why have they suddenly started going down the 172nd route instead of 176th?
It's always been 72nd though, Brownie. It's just that
all the Matchbox was 76, all the Airfix was 76, and also the Eschi was 76.
particular brand decided, because they did it for railway. Because railway was double O gauge or shore gauge, which is 1 to 76. They did it so that people could then, get a German BR-52 or a BR-56, put loads of Panzers on it, Tigers, whatever. Same for the Allied, just have a, Ginty pushing back stuff that was in. But yeah, it was always 76 because it co-aligned with the railway. But then I think Revell started bringing out 72nd because one of their best kits is the Challenger. The Challenger 1 they did in 72nd. Absolute cracking little kit for 72nd.
Their King Tiger as well is really good.
Yeah. The best King Tiger I've ever seen is Model Collect. When I worked, obviously, in a model shop, I had full interior and crew for the 72nd King Tiger.
Oh, wow, okay.
Full engine detail, gearbox, transmission, you name it, it was in there. And I was like, do you know what? It's absolutely superb. But once you put it all together, it's never going to be seen.
And the only problem with that is they chose to do the pre-production turret version.
Yes, they did.
Of which there's only...
They did was it the Porsche turret?
No, let's not call it that, Mick Boulders. It's not the Porsche turret, it's the pre-production turret. Let's get it right.
It was designed by Ferdinand Porsche, so the pre-production one was.
Anyway, going back to the subject, Airfix have just released something which Dan's going to be talking about very shortly, but a 176 4x4 tactical aircraft refueler. Why are they still going down the 76th route rather than the 72nd?
Well, I think that was a miss. Was that a misprint on there?
No, that is the 76. That's 76 with.
Oh, that's the JB models. There's not much new about that. That's the JB models, isn't it?
I think it's the Rome because that original
Bedford refueler.
Yeah, no, that is the JB models one.
They're all the JB ones. There's nothing new about them. I don't know what they're playing out there, saying new, because it's not. And that's the second or third time they've put them out over the years, isn't it? Because they were in the grey, with the paint, the actual painted artwork, and then the sort of greyish boxes. But was that Hella Days? Was that Hella or Humbro? Yeah, Humbro or Hella Days.
The early 2000s days, that. I think it might have been the early Hornby days, yeah.
JB was acquired in the early 2000s before Hornby went bum with Hella in 2006.
They're not bad. I mean, hopefully, if they see sense, those vehicles are plumb for 35th scale releases because they're doing that era. They need to do some soft skins now in 35th scale.
Anyway, whilst you've got the mic, Dan, and I take it you finished Nevs. And whilst we're remembering, obviously, plug for your shop. What was the site address?
pondstones.sumupstore.com. So I've listed the latest Flyhawk kits on eBay after some advice because they snap up quite quickly on there. But if you want them at a much cheaper price, buy direct off my website.
Oh, your shop should come with a spend warning, Nevs, because your prices are very, very good and it's very easy to spend a lot of money with Nevs. So buyer beware. But good luck, mate. I'm so happy it's going well for you.
Yep, agreed. Okay, Dan.
Yes, mate. I've been in B17 heaven this weekend. My Piccadilly Lily 148 HK/Edward kit was on the bench before this weekend just gone. It was sitting in primer for ages, and I was like, right, I really need to get this done now. I want to get it done because for all the reasons, you know, it's the squirrels make an appearance so many times in this blimmin' hobby, don't they? And then the other models that you've built, the shelf queens, so to speak, they're saying, oh, you've just got something else, have you? Any chance of finishing me? So I was all set to get painting, and then bang, this hot weather hit. And I was like, for God's sake, my mojo was up to get back on this B17, get it done, and then plagued by hot weather conditions for spraying. So I did find a weekend where it cooled a little bit, and I managed to, so I basically finished work, come home on the Friday and got it painted that evening. And then the next day I got the decals on, and now the engine's are fitted, the wings are fitted, because they obviously all had to be painted separately because it's massive. Each wing section is so big, it doesn't quite fit in the booth to try and paint it. And when you spray with lacquers, you need the part in the booth because, well, you need the airbrush in the booth as much as you can get for the thing to work, to exhaust the fumes coming out. So yeah, it's in decals, and I've already started weathering the underneath. I've just got the propellers to do and the guns to reattach and the landing gear to do, and she's nearly ready for display. So anyway, B17 heaven. This weekend, I of course went to the Duxford Americans Air Show, and with the sort of IPMS guys, because they invited the scale model displays to set up in the Americas Hall. So the US Air Force SIG were there. The chap, I cannot remember his name, it may be Adrian, the guy with the Duxford display. He had a few sections of his Duxford display, not the whole thing. And we were there with a sort of mixed table, but mainly US Air Force bits and pieces. Mr. Regan was there, former president of IPMS. My good friend Dan Whitelock bought all of his B-17s. And we sat under the nose of a B-17 that's in that hall all day, and it was absolutely fantastic. We got to see Sally B fly, but before that, we took a little walk down to Sally B, and a bit of a culmination of all my B-17 journey of discovery and visiting all of these air bases. And I was very blessed to be able to get on board and do the tour of Sally B. And I could have cried. I was so happy. Very, very emotional. That may have been to do with the heat, because we were warned before we went on that it was reading 98% humidity in there and kicking 45 degrees in that metal tube. And just to go through that rear door, that little rear door at the back, straight away, I thought, oh my God, how did these boys get in this thing and fight, even with the staggered waist guns? It's just so much smaller than what you think it's going to be in there. You know, back to back, rattling around. And the chap that gave us the tour inside, he said, just imagine that your tail gunner's run out of ammo, your two waist gunners are dead, and you've got to carry ammo all the way down through that aircraft, past the great big housing where the rear wheel comes up, and try and squeeze down the side while that thing's bobbing and bucketing around in the air. It just getting near those aircraft, and particularly for me, getting inside, all the stories that I've read and all of the learning and journey of discovery that I've been on, that was a real culmination point for me. And I am eternally thankful for all of the Sally B ground crew and my good friend Dan Whitelock who made that happen for me. So yeah, I've had an absolutely fantastic weekend.
And you are not going to smell WD-40 without his warm again in the same way without thinking of that experience.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know. Even just little things that we were sort of sitting there. I will say there were two other chaps in there with us, as well as our little group that were touring. And the guy that did the tour said we were answering sort of questions with in some respects more than what he knew. And he's like, you guys obviously know what you're doing in here. So we just all sat and chatted in the radio room of a B-17 because they've got some airliner seats in there. And we were like, oh yeah, so that's where the radios would be. And there's the bailout bell. And oh look, where do those wires go? And it's just so much smaller than what you imagine in there. The bomb bay, you look, and I know people go, oh, yeah, the B-17, the bomb bay was tiny. It really is tiny. I mean, a different bomber for a different doctrine. I know it's not a Lancaster, it's a different mindset. So that's a bit of an apples and oranges comparison. But yeah, just fantastic. I mean, the skin, it's very tactile when you're in there. You want to touch and you want to get a feel. It's such a weird experience because that's how we all build models of these things, but you don't know the scale thickness of the fuselage sides. I mean, it's literally like a baking tray, and you can just imagine, hot jagged lumps of flak tearing through that thing. There was no protection in there. There just wasn't any protection. That was the most dangerous place to be up there at one point in the war. 4-to-1 chance of survival up in a B-17 or a Liberator. Just incredible. It really was.
It does make you look at your models when you're actually putting this an open door or undercarriage bay, and you look at the skin that this is actually attaching to, and you're just thinking, on the real aircraft, that'd be 3 or 4 inches thick. In reality, it's just, yeah.
Yeah, the scale thickness, yeah. I'd say with armour as well, if anybody gets a chance to go to the Tank Museum down in Dorset, and if they have their days when you can get and climb on something. But to be honest with you, there you can touch most of the tanks, everything's, you can't do much damage to a tank sitting in a display hall, and, touch the metal and tap stuff and you get an idea of how thick stuff is. And yeah, just get out to museums and visit these places because there's a lot of crossover between modelers and museums. Books and YouTube and whatnot can only tell you so much, but there's nothing like getting out and visiting these places and getting up close to the real machines that we build. And the same, even if that, if you build cars, Formula One cars and stuff, go to anywhere that's got Formula One cars and get up close and you see all of the little carbon fiber bits and pieces and the beautiful engineered hoses and fittings and stuff that's on there. Yeah, it's great. I love the crossover of models and history and the hobby. It's awesome.
The only word...
Yeah, I can vouch for how happy Dan was as well, because I bumped into him at the end. Made sure we went and visited him, said hello on Friday, and he was extremely happy. She mentioned about the model display there as well, because you had the IPMS guys, and it's the tiny flying legends, isn't it? When you refer to the Duxford display.
That's him. Yeah, really, really nice chap. Yep.
Yeah, Kieran.
That's him, Kieran. Yep.
Kieran has, like a miniature Duxford, which it comes on tour, doesn't it? So we would have seen it, for those that are local to the East Anglia region, he tends to bring it to St Ives. He's had it there a few times at the Brampton show.
Yeah, but it's modular, so he can do the whole thing or just a few sections of it. It's great. It's really nice. And he keeps adding to it, and he's even done gazebos that set up at the air show. It's fantastic. Really is. Fair play to him.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Yeah, he's also got like the British airliner collection planes on there as well. So yeah, it does a brilliant job. And like I said, he's a top bloke as well. So yeah.
So yeah, not Sally B. Piccadilly Lily is on my bench at the moment, and she's not leaving until she's finished her routine.
Okay, who have we got left? Boulders.
Oh, and the cover's talking chair.
Happy monster. I've just dropped a bloody part. Neither.
Oh dear. It's not photo etch, is it?
No, it's a piece of plastic about that big.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, photo etch goes ping. It's not been put on. Sod that. Can't be bothered with that. Stressing over a piece of thing that's about 3 millimeters in diameter.
If that.
Yeah, if that. What's on the bench? My secret project is on the bench for the annual build competition is September. So I'm just cracking on with that and having a play with the Ammo Lock and Load pencil. Absolutely love it. I think I just think it's superb. Doing chipping, absolutely superb. Just little nicks, stuff like that, instead of doing painting silver, putting chipping fluid on. and then having to take it off with a toothpick. This is just easier. Paint it black and just go around the edges. Absolutely superb bit of kit. So yeah, that's what's on the bench at the moment. I'll give you a clue. It is not a boat. I've gone back to aircraft for this one. So I'm looking forward to it. Got a set of decals for it. I'm doing a completely different scheme. It's an unusual scheme, and I quite like the look of it. So I just think it'll be better than the standard scheme that it would have been in. It just gives it a bit more. So yeah, sorry guys, it is being kept secret because I don't want other people to know what's thinking, because they wouldn't be fair in the judging process, because they actually listen to this podcast. So that's why it's not being said. So yeah, that's what's on the bench at the minute. Spending money. Yeah, set of decals. That's about it. But I have made a monstrous purchase at the weekend where I've spent £4,000. So straight out. That's for another expensive hobby, which probably wouldn't be on this podcast.
You're being rather coy about that.
Extremely coy about it. Extremely coy. I've bought a brand new pond setup off a guy, funny enough, in not far from us, Brownie. Doesn't want to do it anymore. His heart's not in it. So we went and had a look at it. It comes with its own fish, which is going to be another problem for me to deal with, because it was like, I'll just take the setup. He went, no, need to take the fish. So we've got the fish as well. So, yeah.
Have you ever seen any models of koi fish?
Some 3D printed ones in 35th scale. I actually seen a vignette, absolutely stunning vignette, and I can't remember where it was from. And it was basically, it's based in Japan. It was a little bridge with a little section of the pond with koi in it. And there was a Japanese girl with a Japanese soldier. And it was absolutely elegant. And it had a cherry blossom tree. And it just seriously took my breath away. And for me, it's like, I'm not particularly into vignettes or doubt, but this one just knocked it out the park. And it done its job, because I was just stood there watching it for... Oh, sorry, not watching it, looking at it for ages. But absolutely sublime. Figures were painted superbly. They got the water right. It had a little trickling waterfall. They got the running water absolutely bang on. Bit of foam at the bottom. Obviously, it was like a rockery style, gentle grade waterfall. Absolutely sublime. But yeah, there was...
Yeah, I reckon that's a very sort of figure painting. I'm sort of visioning, like a koi sort of sweeping round on a 3D print, sort of a biggish scale. I'm not explaining this very well. Have I seen one or not, or is that something totally an untapped market? Can you imagine someone doing a real good painter doing like the water shimmer that you get if you're under the water and you look up?
Yeah. So to be honest, sorry, Brown, this is going to be modelling points. With koi, tar, there are different breeds. So you've got your solid colours, but then you've got your jinrin. Now the jinrin is metallic. So these are fish. So I've got some in my pond at the moment. I've got one that's called a tancho, which is all white with a red dot on its head. And that is a jinrin because it's got pearlescent scales going down the side. Try and replicate that. And I'll tell you, I would love to see it. Any figure painter that would be able to replicate that, I guarantee it would be a show winner. Guaranteed, because it's so complicated to get those colours. Because, like I said, the pearlescence, you can see the pinks, the purples, the yellows within that scale. It's unbelievable. And then you've got another one called a Hayatsuri, which would be black and orange, but then the orange has got gold in it. And
so it's almost like you almost raiding maybe car automotive style paints as well for shimmer effects and pearlescence. Yeah,
possibly like SMS with the pearlescence and stuff like that. But obviously it would be, you'd have to mask every scale up and spray them individually to get the different, because they don't all look the same. Each scale's different. It's got a different shimmer to it. Some might have a little bit of green in. They're absolutely sublime. But if I see one of them, I'd vote for it.
Animals are... You don't see many animals. You see a lot of horses on military dioramas now and again, and you might see I've done a little dog on a British Army con diorama that more of a vignette with two guys and a captured Schwimmwagen that I did, and I included a little dog in that. They were just cast resin, and I think you got a cat in the box and bits and pieces from my RT diorama. But bigger scale animals, I'm surprised, because they're still a scale version of the real thing, aren't they? And do you paint them more very, very realistic, or you don't tend to see them much, do you?
No. So primarily for me, it would be like, my mind's gone blank. Who was the lovely lady we had on last episode?
Margot.
Yeah.
That would be something that Margot would probably have a crack at, because Margot is...
That's what I'm sort of thinking with colours.
seriously talented, and she'd be able, and like you say, if you did it in, it's like clear resin, so you could see the underneath, so you got the water shimmer at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then coming up, you've got the wet look with the scales. I would love to see it. Absolutely love to see something like that. But you're right, nobody does any other. They might do it in Japan, the model scenes in Japan.
There's certainly no commercial. Yeah, that's what I thought. With koi, I'm surprised that there's not a manufacturer that does models of them for you to sort of have a go at painting, even if they're very, very small. They don't have to be huge.
When you think that Airfix did the range of birds and the other animals that are unavailable, why has nobody done the fish? Is it just the difficulty in actually displaying them, perhaps?
I don't think it's displaying them.
You could put it on a stand. You could literally, yeah.
I suppose if they were traditional injection molding, they'd have to be. I'm thinking along the line of the dinosaurs. So the dinosaurs have probably got about 5 or 6 parts to them, and I wonder if that's how they would do it if they were going to do it. I mean, at the end of the day, it's if they would sell. They're probably a very niche hobby, so it probably does lend itself more towards 3D.
You'd be surprised at how big the koi community, obviously the Japanese koi carp community is. There's loads of...
Oh, I get, yeah, that's obviously huge.
People and that, and obviously they'll go, oh, there's a kit, I'm going to do it of my favourite fish, and
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
And stuff like that. But no, I would definitely like to see something like that on the model scene, because like you said, there's just no... Because everybody seems to do the same. Nobody thinks outside the box and goes, do you know what? I'm going to do a vignette of, 2 koi swimming like in yin yang, because that's basically what that's supposed to represent.
Yeah.
And have them in water and just see what it would be like. Because I think it would be definitely a talking point, because they go, I've never anything like that.
I'm sure I saw I think it was a mermaid. It was either a mermaid or something, but it was depicted as being under.
Yeah, a mermaid would have all metallic.
But it had a background that had the shimmer. But the actual figure itself was also painted with the shimmer effect over the top of the colours.
Mm.
So it wasn't set in resin or anything like that.
No.
But when you looked at it, it gave you the impression that it was underwater, that you were viewing it underwater. But it wasn't underwater. So can you imagine 2 koi carp with all their colours on and that water shimmer effect over the top of it? I think would be absolutely incredible. Way above my skill levels. But
to be honest, I was just going to make a bit of a joke that maybe these kits are already out there, but because they fall under naval subjects in the waterline, you just can't see them.
Bothering people.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Plastic fish.
But yeah, any manufacturers that are out there, any guys that 3D print, let us know.
Or if anybody knows.
Yeah, if anybody knows of any manufacturers, whether it be injection molded, 3D printed, of any koi carp, let us know. Because it'd be really interesting to try and get hold of one and see what it's like and possibly have a go. Because I guarantee the SMS will get smashed for paint-wise. I'll be getting that, because that pearlescent effect that they do is one of them's pretty close to what you would use now. But like I say, automotive paint, because there's that many pearlescents and stuff like that. But yeah, just let us know. Will be interesting to see.
Who says we don't just talk about aeroplanes and armour?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sorry, Browley, for bringing fish into it.
Oh, well, you just keep, I'm not even going to go down that route.
No, go on, you might as well. I have 2 hobbies.
No, not going to go down that route. With that, we will take a short break and come back with this episode's Stash Inflation Report.
Beyond the Box Art is proudly supported by Guideline Publications, Ammo by Mig Jimenez, the Scale Modelers Supply and Fishcop Model Company. Their backing helps keep the show running, so we can encourage you to support deserving modelling charities instead.
Fishcop Models, elevating scale modelling to an art form. Experience highly detailed 3D printed upgrade parts that bring true authenticity to your builds. Creators of the acclaimed Rolls-Royce Merlin engine set for both the Kotari Spitfire and the Dambusters set for the Border Models Avro Lancaster. For bespoke design and printing, our service is as precise as it is personal, all at a reasonable price. Please take a look at our products on www.fishcopcompany.de. Shipping is available for all of our products worldwide.
The bank balance is nervous, the shelves are full, and temptation is everywhere. Welcome back to another dangerously persuasive Stash Inflation Report.
Right then, Benchmates, it's that time again for the Stash Inflation Report, the part of the show where we carefully monitor the latest releases from around the modelling world and then provide absolute no practical assistance whatsoever in resisting them. As ever, I'm kicking things off with aviation. Dan will shortly be along with armour. Nevs will be examining whatever's currently floating, sinking or lurking around a dockyard. And Shane will finish the financial devastation with gunpla and science fiction. So hide a bank statement, clear another shelf in the stash, and let's see what's incoming. Cora have 3 rather interesting releases in 70-second scale, starting with the Fokker America Model 8 Super Universal, covering aircraft from South Africa and America and Colombia. It's complete plastic kit and it comes with 3 decal options, so there's a little more choice here than simply another familiar military scheme. Sticking with Super Universal theme, there is also a Manchu Fokker Super Universal, this time covering China Airway and the Japanese Army, again as a complete plastic kit with 3 decal options. Definitely something for anyone who likes the more unusual corners of the interwar aviation. And completing Cora's trio, the Fiat Ansaldo A120 Addy Foreign Service, again in 70-second scale, and a complete plastic kit, and again supplied with 3 decal options. 3 decidedly less mainstream subjects from Cora, and therefore 3 perfectly legitimate reasons to explain why another parcel has arrived. Molds are adding a couple of more Eagles to the excellent 1 to 70-second range, with the new F-15E on the way. They're also releasing an Israeli F-15 Ram, giving anyone with an Eagle problem another perfectly reasonable excuse to add 1 more to the collection. Because obviously the F-15 you already have in the stash is completely different, apparently. Micromia have something rather more unusual, who are releasing our RAF SE-1 in 48 scale. That's certainly not something we'd see kitted every 5 minutes, and it should appeal particularly to anyone interested in the very early development of British military aviation. It's unusual, it's British, and it's 48. Frankly, Brownlee has a problem already, cleared space for it. Zukimura are moving considerably upwards in size and are releasing a 1 to 30 second Kawasaki Ki-100. Given Zukimura's reputation for taking the phrase "that'll do" and throwing it straight out the window, this could be very impressive additions for Japanese aircraft fans. And at 30 second, you're not so much adding to the stash as you're allocating its own postcode. Mini Art continue to building out the 48 scale Thunderbolt family, this time with a P40M featuring the dorsal fin. Another variation of the Jug, another attractive box in the model shop, and another opportunity for a P47 enthusiast to explain why this one is absolutely essential despite the other Thunderbolts already occupying half the cupboard. You know who you are. Trumpeter are bringing us something a little more modern with the 1 to 48 Changji Z-10 attack helicopter. It's an imposing looking Chinese attack helicopter and a subject we don't see represented particularly often in quarter scale. So if your helicopter collection has been looking a little too NATO heavy lately, Trumpeter appeared determined to correct the balance. Finally, for aviation, Kinetic are releasing a 1 to 48 F-18C Hornet in Kuwait Air Force markings. And the box art is interesting on this one. I'm going to leave that description hanging there because to say that the subject, which involves 3 Lakenheath based F-15Es, has become a tad decisive is an understatement. And with that, aviation has once again done its bit to ensure nobody listening retires with unnecessary disposable income. So I shall now hand you over to Dan, who is waiting patiently with the latest army releases and several tons of extremely expensive plastic. Dan, what have you got for us?
Thanks, Boulders. We'll kick things off this time with Tamiya, who continue to revisit some absolute classics with the announcement of a brand new tooling 1/35th scale RSO-01 German tractor, depicting the post-spring 1943 version. Scheduled for release on the 5th of August, this compact little workhorse measures 126mm long and 64mm wide, with the price still to be confirmed. The Raupenschlepper Ost was never glamorous, but it certainly earned its reputation. Designed to cope with the mud and snow of the Eastern Front, where conventional trucks simply bogged down, the RSO became an invaluable logistics vehicle. If you enjoy building support vehicles or creating realistic wartime dioramas, this looks like another very welcome addition to Tamiya's ever-growing armour range, and I think it will be a great companion to the Pak 40 kit released last year. Next, we head over to Reskit, who have released a whole family of 1/35th scale Kugelwagen Type 82 wheel sets designed for the Meng, Dragon and Tamiya kits. There are 2 off-road tyre options and 3 different sand tyre variations, all beautifully 3D printed with crisp tread patterns, accurate hub detail and replacement front torsion bars included. Whether you're building an Eastern Front utility vehicle or a dusty North African desert patrol, these upgrades let you match period photographs far more accurately than the standard kit wheels. It's one of those subtle additions that can really transform the finished model without breaking the bank. They're available now directly from Reskit. Finally, T-Rex Studio continue their excellent run of aftermarket upgrades with a 1/35th M24 Chaffee European Theatre running gear set, designed specifically for the Tamiya kit. If you've used T-Rex products before, you'll know exactly what to expect. Beautifully engineered detail designed to replace some of the finer suspension and running gear components, adding to that level of realism for anyone looking to take their Chaffee to competition standard. That's all from me this episode. I'll park up the armour before I start adding more to everyone's stash and hand over to Nevs, who's hopefully got calmer waters ahead with this episode's naval news.
Thanks, Dan. We'll start with some German naval subjects, where Trumpeter are finally giving the Scharnhorst her sister back, with the announcement of a brand new 1/350th scale Gneisenau due later this year. The 2 battleships shared much of their wartime service, but although they looked similar, there were some important differences. Gneisenau featured a shorter aircraft handling area aft of the main superstructure, and never received the extensive wartime modifications or the striking camouflage schemes that make Scharnhorst such a popular modelling subject. Sadly, Gneisenau's story ended rather differently. Following Hitler's decision to curtail the surface fleet, her main guns were removed for use in Atlantic Wall coastal batteries, before the stripped-out hull was eventually scuttled as a block ship at Gdynia in 1945. Based on Trumpeter's recent Scharnhorst release, we'd expect another well-detailed injection-moulded kit, complete with a useful fret of photo etch. Release is expected between September and November 2026. So give Scharnhorst her sister back and purchase the Gneisenau this autumn. Staying with the Kriegsmarine, Sparler continue to add even more refinement to Revell's excellent 1/350th Bismarck with 2 new upgrade sets. The first is a beautifully detailed rigged accommodation ladder, while the second is a replacement flagstaff complete with 3 resin flags, depicting different ways the flag naturally hangs or flies. They're small additions, but sometimes it's those finishing touches that really lift a model. And if you've got a Bismarck waiting in the stash, these are definitely worth a look. If you prefer your ships considerably larger, Pontos have announced an extraordinary upgrade set for Trumpeter's 1-200 USS Yorktown CV5, representing the carrier as she appeared in 1940. And when I say comprehensive, I really do mean comprehensive. Inside, you'll find a blue-stained real wood deck, around 30 sheets of photo etch, approximately 150 resin parts, turned brass barrels for both the 20mm Oerlikon and the distinctive 1.1-inch anti-aircraft guns, decals for the embarked air group with accurate aircraft markings, plus masking sets. Now all of that quality comes at a price, and you should expect this upgrade set to cost more than the kit itself. But if you're looking to turn an already impressive model into a genuine centerpiece, this is exactly the sort of investment that serious ship modelers will. Finally, this week, Crombeecke continue their fascination with unusual naval subjects by releasing the French submarine Gymnote Q1 in 1:144 scale. Launched in 1888, Gymnote holds an important place in naval history as the first operational submarine to be successfully armed with torpedoes. Although she was lost in 1907, her pioneering design paved the way for the submarines that followed. The kit will be injection moulded with a small fret of photo etch, and it should retail in the UK for around £20 to £25, and it should be arriving with retailers very soon. If you're after something genuinely different for the display cabinet, this little piece of submarine history could be just the ticket. And that's everything making waves on the naval front this fortnight. Shane, I know you've been keeping an eye on the world of gunpla and sci-fi kits. So over to you to see what's been tempting the wallet this week.
Cheers, Nebs. Yes, welcome to the part of the Stash Inflation Report where sensible engineering takes one look at that instruction manual, quietly closes it, and leaves the building. We begin with In-Era Plus and the RMD Azure Falcon, arriving imminently with a price of around £80. In-Era Plus have developed a strong following for producing large, highly detailed, original mecha kits that offer plenty of shelf presence without carrying quite the same financial threat as some of the premium Japanese releases. The Azure Falcon continues that approach with a sharply, heavily armoured design, plenty of layered mechanical detail, and a sort of silhouette that suggests subtlety was never part of this design brief. At £80, it certainly isn't an impulse purchase, but for builders who enjoy complex assemblies, extensive colour separation, and a finished model that dominates the display cabinet, this could prove very tempting indeed. Just make sure you clear the shelf before you start it. It's bigger than you think. Next, we have something a little different. From Aoshima, a 1/450th Odeon animation colour version due for release in December at approximately £40. This is clearly aimed at collectors who prefer the bold, unmistakable appearance of the original animated presentation rather than a more subtle, realistic finish. At 1/450th scale, it should offer a good balance between visible detail, manageable display space, while animation-inspired colours gives it plenty of immediate shelf appeal. With it arriving in December, makes it ideal timing for those modelers who receive some money at Christmas, manages to spend it before the family has even finished washing up. Moving on, Takayo Rabbit Factory have released a 1/144 scale Hazel Custom coming in August, with the price still to be confirmed. Its distinctive proportions and heavily modified appearance have made it a fan favourite amongst fans for the Zeta designs. And at 1/44 scale, this should be relatively compact, although Hazel's collections of attachments, boosters and additional equipment means it may still occupy considerably more room than the scale suggests. Next comes a particularly stealthy piece of P-Bandai temptation, the Master Grade Super Deformed Wing Gundam Zero Endless Waltz in black. Scheduled release for November at around £55. The MG SD range combines the exaggerated proportions of the Super Deformed kit, while much of the internal complexity, articulation, and detail normally associated with the Master Grade releases. Wing Gundam Zero already has one of the most recognisable designs in the Gundam universe, thanks largely to those enormous angelic wings. Producing it in black gives it an entire different look, more dramatic appearance. And at £55, it's firmly in the dangerous pre-order territory. Staying with P Bandai, we also have the Master Grade 1/100 scale Gundam Heavy Arms Endless Waltz. This is being offered as a made-to-release order. Both the release date and the prices are still to be confirmed, but rest assured it's coming in 27. Heavy Arms is of course the mobile suit created for anyone who looked at a conventional weapons loadout and asked why every available surface wasn't carrying another missile pod. With its chest-mounted Gatling guns, shoulder weapons, leg-mounted missiles, general commitment, overwhelming firepower, Heavy Arms run one of the most least subtle machines in the universe. The made-to-order status means that this may not be something collectors can casually pick up later, so anyone interested will need to keep a close eye on the ordering window. Finally, we leave model kits behind and enter the significantly more expensive world of transforming toys. Enemy are releasing AFC 01X Skunks Tactical Pack Amiga Delta Alpha in February 2027, priced at approximately £170. That's quite a name, and at £170, quite a commitment. The Legionus design is best known for the Genesis Climber and later international adaptations combining an aircraft, an intermediate configuration, and a humanoid combat mode. This toy-rise release adds the Skunks tactical equipment packaging, giving the Legionus an even more heavily equipped and mission-ready appearance. The appeal here will be the transforming engineering, accessories and display possibilities rather than the traditional building experience. Still, so, this time we have the imposing Azure Falcon, an animated coloured release from the Aoshima, the experimental Hazel Custom, a blacked out Wing Gundam Zero, enough firepower to equip the small country courtesy of Heavy Arms, and the transforming Legion carrying a price tag capable of achieving flight all by itself. The safest choice is probably buy none of them, but as this is the Stash Inflation Report, we all know that isn't going to happen. And that's everything from me this time. We'll take a quick break, hear from our fantastic companies who support the show.
Do you want cutting-edge detail for your kits? Then take a look at Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, run by USAF veteran Mike Reeves. With real-world aircraft experience as a crew chief, Mike knows exactly where accuracy counts. And today, he's bringing that knowledge to life with precision 3D printed parts. From seamless intakes and nozzles to dropped flaps, pods, pylons, and cockpit upgrades, Phase Hanger's prints capture the crisp edges and fine detail that limitations in injection molding just can't reproduce. From 1/72nd to 1/32nd scale, you'll find add-ons from Cold War classics to the latest frontline jets with frequent new additions to the product range. Every piece is designed by modelers, for modelers, and faithfully reproduced on state-of-the-art printers and shipped worldwide, and are ready to drop straight into your next build. With additions to the product line landing all the time, there's always something fresh to elevate your next build. Explore the full range at phasehanger.com and follow Phase Hanger on Facebook and Instagram for regular updates and inspiration. Phase Hanger Resin Accessories, authentic detail designed with a veteran's eye and available to modelers everywhere. Phase Hanger is a proud sponsor of the Beyond the Box Art podcast.
And now, our featured interview. Conversations with the people shaping the hobby, from individual modelers to leading manufacturers, exploring every aspect of scale modeling together.
Right, one of the true highlights of the international modelling calendar is almost upon us. Every autumn, it's the middle of summer and we're talking about autumn already. How depressing is that? Anyway, every autumn, thousands of modellers from across Europe and increasingly from much further afield make the pilgrimage to Eindhoven for what many regard as one of the finest scale modelling events in the world. Scale Model Challenge has earned a reputation for breathtaking competition entries, world-class traders, inspirational displays, and perhaps most importantly, an atmosphere unlike any other. It's an event that celebrates not just the models on the table, but the people behind them. None of that happens by accident. Joining us today are the husband and wife team whose passion, vision and countless hours of hard work have helped make Scale Model Challenge the event it is today. Margot and Robert Crombeecke, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
You are very welcome. Right, let's start with a really difficult question to both of you. What's currently on your workbench, and are either of you actually going to get any modelling done before the show, or is that simply wishful thinking?
You want the short answer or the long answer? The short answer is...
Let's go with the long answer.
The short answer is nothing, actually. Just some printed material that I need for the show, because this is the time of year that I don't do much modeling, actually. So, but I have some stuff on the workbench. I have an MAK robot. I have a Tiger 2 in the making. I have another one that I'm I'm painting for somebody else, but that's a bit of a ongoing project. Yeah, and a few figures that I have left and right that are in the process of being finished at some point in the future. So that's it.
Well, for me, I have a really large bust. It's a Caracola. It's a bust that I have already since we organized World Model Expo. And I started that, I think, a couple of months ago in the beginning of this year. I have another one from Fair Miniatures, and that one I use for a completely different way of painting, just to see how it works. And some smaller ones that I started but still didn't finish. So a lot of unfinished things. So I hope to finish one of them before the show. I hope so, but I cannot guarantee.
How many people have not got something they haven't finished on the bench? Be fair.
Oh, let's see where.
I don't believe a word of it. I know how many he started versus how many he's actually finished.
But my output in the last couple of years has been very, very small. It's just that there's a lot of time that goes into organizing the show. I have a very busy day job, to be honest. And sometimes in the evening, I'm just... my energy level is not that great anymore. So, yeah, I rather watch Netflix. Unfortunately.
There's no lock on his door, so otherwise I locked him in on his workbench because I think it's a shame that he is not doing more than he's doing now. But I understand why.
You can get to overload.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the last couple of months I've been fiddling more on my bass guitars than I've been doing something on scale modeling. So,
yeah.
But even that is at a very low at this moment. So, yeah, it's what it is.
And I also started to go back to the canvas. So, a lot of things. So, I wanted to start already a couple of years ago, but I was always busy with the figures. And so, now I started again to paint on canvas. So a lot of things that I want to do, and every day I want to paint the whole day, and most of the days, I mean, you have to do the housekeeping, all these things, and I realized that I'm a little bit older than 40 and that the energy level is also less than at that time, unfortunately.
Yeah. And also the heat we're having in Europe at the moment is relatively unusual, especially with the duration as well. And that just saps the energy out of you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And we had a renovation.
Oh, yeah. We had a renovation in the house as well. That's right. So, yeah. So it was quite a hectic period there.
Yes.
And a costly one.
Well, yes. But, you have such a high-paid job, it's not a problem, is it?
Exactly. Yeah. No worries.
Yeah.
Okay then, so for anyone, including myself, who hasn't yet experienced Scale Model Challenge, what makes it different from a traditional model show? If you've just 60 seconds to convince someone to visit Eindhoven this year, what would you tell them?
SMC is a show where we mix both worlds of the figure painting and scale modeling, where we try to cross the interests, get people inspired by other people's work. The atmosphere in general is more like friends meeting up from all over the world that know each other only from Facebook or other social media. They meet up. I wouldn't saying it's a family reunion is maybe a bit cheesy, but that's what it sometimes feels like. Everybody is just eager to join in, and sometimes for some people even trade area or the competition is second to the whole social event, actually. And and also the mix of interests makes it different from most other shows because we value both the hobby, so figures and scale modeling, equally. You don't have in the competition, the emphasis is pretty much on figures, obviously, because figure painters they paint a lot more than people would build models, but still don't have an emphasis on either one of them. For us, both are very important.
And a lot of people say that it feels like home. And when they arrive in Veldhoven and they arrive at the venue, they're so familiar with the venue and everything what's going on. And I think some shows are doing that already, but we are giving children a lot of space to build and paint at the show. So, for this year, I'm working on it to invite 20 people that are not having money to do something with their children.
Yes.
So we try to have 2 days, 10 children, so together 20, and they can come in for free and they can paint and they can build whatever, and they get French fries, a croquette, typical Dutch, something to drink, and they can stay the whole afternoon at the show and see at the competition and whatever. But I'm still working on it to find the right people to be in contact, because you need to find the right organization. I have already contact, but now they need to know what age, whatever. And they all can bring one of the parents also. So that's something new for this year.
Well, the thing is, a lot of people complain that there are no youngsters coming into the hobby. And you see shows where they actually make effort. Like I just told you, I was at E-Day last month, and there they had a large spot where kids could build and airbrush models and under guidance, obviously. A lot of shows don't tend to care about kids coming into the hobby. So I'm trying to lobby with a lot of companies to support us for that kids corner, obviously, because you need kits and figures and paints and,
And everything is given by different companies.
Yes.
So the paints, the figures, everybody is working with us on this. So that's one very special area. And that's something that I hope we can do this for these 20 children. And if it works, we can do it every year.
I hope it works out for you as well. What a brilliant initiative. Well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was Robert's idea.
Thank you.
And I work it out. Yeah.
I have lots of ideas, but I also need people to actually act upon it. So
yeah. So hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully it works out.
Yeah. It would be great.
Well, to try and help you with that initiative, I'll speak to you offline, but we'd like to make a donation to help fund part of that for you.
Oh, really?
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you.
Oh, wow. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
I'll message you afterwards and sort something out, but yeah, okay.
Well, and we keep you informed if we can arrange it for the children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The special thing. But we have
the special thing, but we have always the children's corner. And I mean, it's the whole day, 2 days, it's fully booked. So they're standing in line, and then we need to say to some children, okay, you have your time now, somebody else need to do it. So, yeah.
Okay. Dan.
So, can you take us back to the history of Scale Model Challenge a little bit and give us an idea of what the original vision was? And also, are you surprised at just how influential it has become across the worldwide modelling community? It seems to be the first show internationally on everybody's lips when they say, go to SMC. You want to go to a good show, go to SMC.
Well, to answer the last question, yes, I am still pretty much amazed that people talk about our show that way. And I'm genuinely surprised. Also, when I hear you say that, I'm even moved by those words, actually. The thing is, a long time ago, I started modeling more actively in the club and everything else. We visited shows, and every show that we came back from, there was something that I thought was missing from it. And we also went to Euromilitaire back in the day. And also there we found, okay, it was a brilliant show, but in my opinion, it was lacking something. Don't ask me exactly what that something was because I can't really put a finger on it. But every time I came back home, I said, I can do that better than they could, whoever they would be, right? And then Margot at one point said to me, oh, if that's the case, then well, why don't you do it?
I said literally, if you think you can do it better, then you have to show it and just do it. That was the kick.
And to be honest, my first thing was that I've told this in other interviews as well. Obviously, we have an IPMS Nationals in the Netherlands. And at that time, I thought it was a very boring show. And we also visited Belgian shows where the scale modeling level was much higher than what I saw on the IPMS Nationals in the Netherlands. And I thought, in combination with that Euromilitaire visit every year, I thought, wouldn't it be great if the city that I live in would become an international center of the hobby once a year? And so we started the show in 2007, and we had until 2015, it was only a one-day show. And I knew that if we wanted to attract more international people, that we needed to a 2-day show. So I unfolded those plans within the club. Let's say there were mixed feelings about that, doing 2 days, but looking back at it, it was the best thing we ever did. Not only because we had more time to do our stuff, to set things up, and it was more relaxing actually because, setting up everything in one day and breaking it down again on the same day, organizing the whole competition. When I look back at it, I still wonder how we ever managed to do it at all. And since 2016, it's a 2-day show. So, and then obviously at one point we started off as a show for military models and figures, although figures were kind of limited to maybe, say, Second World War figures, busts and 1/35th scale figures. And slowly but surely we had some historical painters coming, and then obviously Margot started painting figures at one point and we started traveling, and Margot started traveling more because she didn't have a day job and I did, so I wouldn't have my days off every time. And when Margot started traveling more to shows and also joint ventures abroad, we attracted more and more, especially figure painters from abroad. So they caught up pretty quickly. I think more scale modelers also internationally, they came kind of it grew organically, I guess. I mean, it's word to mouth, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, from my side, it was mostly the figure painters because I went to the figure painting competitions. And so there I started to talk about the show and promoting. So it was not only for entering the competition, but also for in the first place, it was to promote the show. So that was 1 year, and in that year I did 12 shows in 1 year.
International.
Yeah.
No, it's one in Belgium.
So international.
Yeah. And also in Moscow, but 3 times.
Oh, really? Did you do any in the UK?
The Euromilitaire.
Euromilitaire. And we go to Ely.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, really? That's half an hour from me. Is that FMS, the Fen Model Show?
Yeah, Fen Model Show.
Ah, wow, yeah.
You'll be there this weekend.
That's the 3rd time.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, 3rd time. And that's actually the only shows I did in the UK.
Yeah. After Euromilitaire, there was not so much. Yeah, well, there was.
In what I knew.
Obviously.
I've been to that Fen Model Show a couple of times, and it's quite clear that they are very influenced by you and the style that you set up the displays with the pedestals and the higher. viewing platforms and the black tablecloths and the allotted space and the good lighting. It's a fantastic format. And the first time I went with my son, and he's Marvel superhero mad. And he saw Incredible Hulks and Spider-Man figures. And I mean, that was the spark for him to go, oh, it's not just tanks and aeroplanes.
No. But so in Poland, contrast, they have the same displays that we have, and they adapted also our stuff.
I see.
Well, yeah, we are a little bit an example for that.
To be very honest, when I started the show and when we developed the show, obviously I borrowed the good ideas from other shows as well. I didn't invent the wheel. I just left out the bad stuff.
I think all good shows that are growing, I mean, the format seems to be growing rapidly, and there's all of the different competition formats that things seem to be evolving and changing, coming out of a past era into this new era.
Yeah.
I think with social media as well, it really is evolving, isn't it? And people want quality when they're paying good money to go into a show. And that includes being able to see, well, the very things you've paid to go and see, you know?
Exactly. That's the most important thing.
Well, that's one of the things I always say. Also, even when I do the judging briefing, you know, people pay money to enter the competition. People pay money to enter the show. You have to give them the money's worth. Judge every piece, or look at every piece at least. And that's what I also tell my fellow organizers. You know, if you charge people money to get in, you have to give them something special.
Yeah.
And not just a bunch of tables where you smack some models on, because everybody can do that.
Yeah. Well, I've not been yet, and there was a chance of me coming to this year's show, but that's now passed because of one-to-one scale life reasons. We won't go into it.
Okay.
I do aim to be there, but I would like to come with my family because my partner, she's very artistic on canvas and likes to paint. And I believe that Van Gogh lived in Eindhoven for a while.
It's very close. Yeah.
Right, okay. And I believe that there's the MAN factory as well, and
Yeah.
sorry, the DAF factory. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And let me see here.
yeah. It sounds like a real weekender and a great city to visit as well. Obviously, as well as the model show. I mean, people say every year, "Oh my God, SMC was so good. I just don't know how they're going to top it." Somehow, you always seem to. Can you tell us what's new for this year's event that you're particularly excited about?
At first the children, but I want to say, Robert said, I didn't invent the wheel, but I think he did. He's always too humble. He invent a lot of things, but for me is, the children, bringing the children into it.
And we've expanded the show. We've extended it with a pavilion that's attached to one of the holes. And that's actually bigger than the hole it's attached to.
Ah, okay.
In square meters, where we're going to be in that pavilion. Normally we don't mix certain things. We have the trade or the vendors are separated from the clubs, but in that pavilion we have a mix. We have what we call the vintage market, which is a posh name for the second-hand stuff. I want to give it an extra, that's a bit more class. Anyway, we have clubs in there as well. We have the whole kids section there, which is our own kids club, plus Slovenia. We have Back to Basics, who really emphasize on learning kids how to build models. And it's a really great extension of that corner. The clubs in there, there's also traders over there, the second hand. So that's good mix in that pavilion. And we named it.
You named it.
I named it after one of the guys in our club who passed away, Arie van Kessel, and he was running the kids club for years at our show.
And he made the displays.
Oh yeah, he's also the guy that made our tier displays in the competition. But he passed away 2 years ago, and so I thought it was a nice idea, name that pavilion after him. And so that's one thing that I'm very excited about, and we want to push, let people know that pavilion is there, because otherwise they might miss it. We're going to make sure that they can't miss it, but you never know. And then the other thing is that we'll have a new release, or new product area. So we have our glass cabinets that we're going to, where all the vendors can display their newest releases. So it's going to be placed straight when everybody comes in. You can see the glass cabinets there. And we're not gathering.
A real showcase. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all showcases, and they can show their new stuff, and we'll add, the stand numbers there so people can look it up. And so that's something. So those are the physical new things. And another new thing that we are working with is from Tom Arnisch. He's a German. Well, you know him, obviously. I can see. And he made an app. It's called Scale Model Events, and it can contain a lot of information, but also an interactive floor plan that we have. So we're really going to see, and it's also the site where we sell our tickets. And it's been tested before by a German show. We're using that system now as well. But the interactive floor plan, I think, would be great. Is a great addition for the visitors because they can really look it up on the floor plan where a certain stand is, and the floor plan is more or less ready. It's not published yet, but it's in the making. And the nice thing is that we can send from the system, we can send emails to those vendors, and then they get a link, and then they can update their own stand information. They can put whatever they want to put in there, their own logos, the information they want. And I think that's a very good addition. And people can scan a QR code, and those QR codes will be all over the venue. They can scan it, and then they can access the Scale Model Challenge page. They can see everything. So those are 3 big changes for us. And maybe that ticket thing is might not sound as a big thing, but we had a ticketing system where we had some issues with the connection when we had to scan a lot of tickets at the same time. So that was a big issue every time. And this is a brand new technology that he's using. And Tom Arnisch explained it to me, and he says it's going to be great. And I believe him. So Godspeed. No pressure there. But for us, it's an important change. And it's also something that is not entirely in my own hands anymore. So that's something you have to get used to.
That's the big change. Most of the show is done by one person, and that's Robert. And we have a couple of people that do. One is doing the club, the other one is doing the vendors. But the whole year, Robert is the only one who is doing contact with the vendors, emails, taxes, the whole thing.
Yeah.
All administration, thinking about new things. So I always say it's a one-man show.
Yeah, it's no wonder you don't get much time to actually model anymore. I mean, the show's earned a reputation, really, attracting some of the best modelers, traders, manufacturers around the world. You've explained to us a hell of a lot of work goes in behind the scenes to create the show and make all of that happen. When do you actually start planning for, say, next year's show?
The day after.
The day after, yeah. That sounds a common occurrence with many people that arrange shows.
Yeah, well, that's when the ideas come, and then I try to let it go for a couple of weeks. But usually we invite the vendors about half January. So before that, I have to make sure that everything is fixed, like the cost that we have every year. So I have to make sure that we don't lose any money on the whole thing. So I have to talk with the venue. You need to sort out that money-wise what you're up against for next year. And so that starts, and I've prepared the part of the website that is especially for the vendors. So that there is some work there. And then the whole thing starts. And then I think this year we send the invitation. We have a mailing list for vendors, and we send out an invitation to a lot of vendors on January 15. And I think within 48 hours, we were fully booked this year, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was also the reason why we have the pavilion, actually, because I saw at one point that I had as many vendors as I had in the year before, and I thought, okay, now I'm full, right? So, and only then I found afterwards, when I started to make a sketch of the floor plan, that I found out that a lot of vendors asked for more space than they had the year before, so I couldn't fit them in, no. So I couldn't fit them all in. So I started to find a solution, which was the pavilion. So yeah, that's one of the reasons we have it. Yeah.
It's not that there are more vendors. On a certain moment, you need to stop.
Yeah.
So the vendors are changing. Some are not coming back, and some new are coming. But if you have too many vendors, it works for nobody because it's too much competition. So, but they all want to have a bigger space.
The other thing is that for the vendors, we try to make a good mix of what is being offered. We don't have 20 people selling kits, for example. And yes, we do have a lot of manufacturers of figures because that's obviously simpler, more or less, than making plastic model kits, obviously, because of the technical issues involved and the costs. But still, I think there's a good balance between scale modeling, what we offer for scale modelers, and what is on offer for figure painters and stuff. So, and there are more and more aftermarket for the scale modeling side. There are more and more aftermarket companies coming. There's more aircraft related products coming in, or companies coming in. So yeah, I think we're quite happy with this year's list. Actually, it's already on the website, the full list. So if people want to look at, what is it? scalemodelchallenge.com. You can go to the trade page and then you see the full list of all the vendors that are there.
And then they can start to save money for everything they want to buy.
Well, everybody that comes back says, "Oh my God, I spent so much money." So you're obviously doing something right.
Yeah. How are they going to come at home?
Well, yeah. Do they do those other?
That's the good thing about us as a couple, that we are both into it.
Yeah.
You know, the show is our help.
We don't have to justify the expenses.
No.
Of course. No, of course.
Do you know what, other guys? I think that the key thing is that you clearly value the visitor experience above everything else.
Yes.
And that really does shine through in the way in which you talk about the show so passionately. What I hear a lot from people that visit the show in the past is it feels less like an exhibition and more like a celebration of the hobby.
Yeah, that's true.
Is that something that you guys have deliberately tried to create? And how important is that sense of community to you guys?
Well, I'm the running lady on the show, and I try to go on the desk in a couple of times a day to say hi to everybody, and I'm the hugging lady. I'm hug everybody, and so for me, it's all my children are coming, and if they need something, I always will help them. If they ask me something and I can help, I will do it. So for me, it's very important that people feel welcome. And that's my job at the show, for the vendors, for the visitors, for everybody.
We always say that the venue is our home and we are welcoming our guests and friends, everybody in our home. Because, and again, it sounds cheesy, but we've been coming there since 2010, right?
Yeah.
So that's 16 years, with an exception of the COVID, of course. And yeah, it actually does feel like we're receiving our friends and new friends and acquaintances and totally strangers into our home.
Yeah,
it really feels like that. Yeah,
we come in on Thursday.
Yeah,
and the people at the desk, they say, "Hey, Margot, Robert, you're back." And then most of the people that are working there, they know us, and there are even people that are working there. They ask if they can work on the weekend of Scale Model Challenge. Yeah, they want to be part of the show because they like the atmosphere and they like the people that are coming there. And, you know, it's a great...
And even they ask us every now and then, "Oh, is that guy from Australia coming again?
Yeah.
Is that guy from the US coming again? Or,
yeah.
or that German guy, or that tall guy, or that..."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
And some of the people really wants to work on that weekend. Yeah. And unfortunately, there are some people that we really love to see there in the weekend, but because of the COVID, they lost their job. They moved over to another job. But yeah, most of the people that working there, they love to work on that weekend.
You know what the good thing is for the technical assistants or the people that help us out, it's all backstage work actually. Mm. And those people are there for as long as I can remember. And they work hard for us to make the show work from the venue side to make sure that everything works. And that's pretty amazing. Yeah.
I mean, how large is the volunteer team to help with the organising of the event? Like, how many do you think you have
this year?
Over the weekend of the show, yeah.
This year, it'll be around 66 volunteers from the club and
their wives,
their partners, whatever, or kids.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
And then we also have some external help, like the guys from the British Flat Figure Society. They're always with 5 or 6, and they help us put these cloths on the table on a Friday morning.
We don't need to tell them anything. They do their thing and they really what to do. So it's amazing.
That's right. So that's over 70. So in total, it will be over 70 people over the weekend. So not 2 days, 3 days. Some might only come for 1 day, but we need them because you have people at the ticket counters. You have scan the online tickets, and the competition area. There are a lot of people.
And the granddaughters.
Yeah.
My granddaughters. They're
26 and so
they are not childs anymore. But they helped already for many years.
It's just got such a sense of community. I mean, I've not been fortunate enough to visit yet, but can I just touch upon what you said about the competition? I mean, I've seen a lot of images online, and the quality of the competition entries, it is just incredible. Like, from your perspective as organisers, I'm interested to know, like, what trends or techniques have really stood out over the last couple of years? And do you think the standard is still climbing, or do you think we might potentially have reached the peak?
Well, I can only speak about figures. I think the techniques are out of this world these days. I mean, I cannot catch up anymore. I won a lot of medals in the past, gold medals, silver, bronze, whatever. And now I have my pot of highly commanded. I cannot keep up with these people that inventing new techniques. And I mean,
especially in the fantasy.
Yeah, especially in the fantasy.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that online.
Yeah, and I think it will not stop. It changes every somebody invent something. In the past, it was Kirill Kanaev. Yeah, and he was the one who brought a lot of techniques into the figure painting that people are still using it. And I think he was how do you say it? The one who bring the figure painting to a higher level. In my opinion, he was
technically.
Yeah.
Technically elevated. Yeah. So do you think it's like more of an evolution then, do you reckon? The evolution of techniques.
Yeah.
More revolution. A revolution. And I think in scale modeling, I don't think I've seen many new techniques. It's just that they are being done better than before and by more people than before.
Do you think some of that's product led as well, maybe?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I'm still screwing around with oil paints and thinners to do my washes and pin washes and whatever. And I don't have a lot of jars from XYZ brands to do it. It basically all comes down to the same, but I don't, it's really because there are so many products readily available, and that, I mean, it doesn't mean that they are being used properly by everybody, but because of internet, of course, and all the tutorials on internet, and with guys like Martin Kovac, for example, what's his nickname again? Night Shift. I mean, people are so easily introduced to all kinds of techniques. And I've always said in the past that if you can read a lot of books and a lot of magazines, but if you never saw like something simple like a wash being done in the flesh, it always stays a little bit, I'd say, not obscure, but, a bit of guesswork. The term when you do for airbrushing, it has to have the consistency of milk. I mean, what the heck is the consistency, for example, right? Yeah. So what does it actually mean? So, and because of internet, a lot of things have become more available to a much wider people, which doesn't answer your question. But I don't think I've seen so many new techniques, especially in scale modeling. I mean, I come from a military scale modeling background. I've made dioramas from the beginning. The only thing I do see is that the quality keeps improving a lot.
Yeah, consistency across the board. To be fair, I actually think you've encompassed it really well when you said revolution. I think that is like nail on the head.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah.
And the figure community, you have a lot of workshops.
Yeah.
And that is very special for the figures. I mean, for
Scale modeling.
scale modeling, it's not working, but there, you can do every month the workshop if you want.
Yeah.
It's amazing. In every country, you can do every month a new workshop if you have the money and the time. But it can also be difficult because you learn every time. There are some people that doing a lot of workshops and they don't take to practice that technique for a while. And then before they adapted this technique to their own, then they already have some other input and another input and another input. And I know for myself, I stopped doing workshops because I got confused. And again, with Kirill Kanaev, I did workshops and I worked the whole week with him here in the house while he had 2 workshops, 2 weekends. From him, I learned a lot because it was always the same person and he knew me and I know him. And so I could learn from him and get steps out. But if you do too many workshops, it's not good, I think. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think I think you're right. I think it goes more from a technique process to more of a coaching you as an individual by what you just said there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's my opinion. Other people maybe have another idea, but it's good for people that they sit together. It's always fun, workshops.
Yeah, that's true. And like I said, you actually see how something is being done rather than just read it from a book or a magazine. Nothing against those 2 media, but the thing is, years ago when I wasn't that long back in the hobby, I was in a Belgian show where I think Miguel Jimenez was doing a demonstration and you really saw his thing. And then I thought, okay, so that's a wash or that's a filter or that's how it works. And then you get more the feel then you know what the consistency of milk. That's
That's brilliant. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that answer. That was really, really interesting. Thanks for that.
The hobby's changed enormously, and I can vouch for this myself, with 3D printing and digital sculpting, social media and AI-assisted design. How a scale model challenged evolved to reflect those changes while still celebrating traditional craftsmanship.
That's a very good one. So if you talk about scratch building and scale models, we have in our competition, for example, we have only one class for scratch built models. Could be an aircraft, could be a tank, could be a car for all I care about. And we always look for judges who know their game. So they are not really focused on one specific theme. So we can manage to put everything in that particular class. And I also make sure that those judges are aware of both traditional techniques and the new 3D designs or whatever. And for the figures, we also have, 2 classes because there are 2 levels, I think at the moment. Yeah. There's a standard and there's a master category for the sculpting of figures. And in that category, you can have both traditionally sculpted and 3D sculpted pieces. And I actually made an exception because usually our judging teams per class, they consist out of 3 judges. And this year, I decided to do 4 judges for those classes, 2 traditional sculptors and 2 3D sculptors. So because one of the traditional sculptors said to me 1 or 2 years ago, we said, listen, I've been judging with this and that person in that particular class. And I thought I knew a lot. He said to me, I thought I knew what I was looking at because as a traditional sculptor, he was looking at 3D sculpts and he said, oh, well, that's cool. And that's fine. And that's fantastic. And that's super and blah, blah, blah. And then the lady that was judging with him said, or one of them said, yeah, but that's a board STL file and that's a board STL file. And that's so they recognize that stuff easily where you and I probably have no clue what we're looking at. So it's for the competition, we really try to find judges that are really up to date with the current techniques And whether that's painting, building, or weathering, whatever, that's what we look at. So I think that's how we try to keep up with the whole evolution that's going on. Now the AI thing might be a little bit different, a bit more tricky, I think. But yeah.
I see that some bigger companies bringing up new stuff, and then if you see it and you don't read what is written there, then you think, whoa, that's nice painting. And if you want to know who painted it, it was AI. And I refuse to share this post because I don't want to support AI. I want to support figure painting, craftsmanship. And one of the things we do is trying to give younger people a step up in the whole scene, in the whole community and everything. If I see that, and I talked with one company that shared something, and then a friend of mine said, you didn't saw it, it's painted AI. And I talked with him because he's the person that I can tell him. I said, deleted the share because it's AI painted. And he said, oh my God. So, and he was so kind. He deleted also that thing. He said, I didn't know that it was such a thing. And I explained him that a lot of box art painters have no job anymore because it's too expensive. And if everybody starts to give AI the opportunity to paint it in, then what are the figure painters are needed to do if they do it for their job, for their living? A lot of people are doing it for their living. So for me, that's the border. I will not share something that is painted with AI. Of course, I cannot tell people what to do or what not to do, but I know a lot of box art painters, and I talked this week with one, and he said, I'm happy that he has another job also. But a lot of people stop with painting because of this, because of it. And I'm really scared for the future for that.
No, I completely get it. There's some manufacturers that have now started using AI generation on their boxes as well within the scale modelling world. And I know a guy in Australia who does all the box art stuff like Trumpeter, like he does like warships, he'll do armour vehicles. You've got the guys at Edward that do all those, the hand painting, they're absolutely stunning. Go back to a legend that was Roy Cross, who did all the old Earthix boxes during the 50s, 60s and 70s. And I think that for me, is having it originally painted by a painter makes you want that product more than seeing it AI generated.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't look real. The realisms in the painting, for me, it's to do with the artistic flair of a box for a subject.
But you know, what the problem is, a lot of people don't see the difference anymore, because it's like, you know, we support or we don't support in the rules for our vendors, for example, we say that it's not allowed to sell recasts, for example, right? And we are very much against that recasting but also other stuff. And there's a lot of counterfeit on the market. If you start in this hobby, you're not aware sometimes, no, mostly, you just don't know. You think, oh, okay, that's a lot cheaper than I would buy it from XYZ. I'll just buy it on eBay. And then it turns out it's a Russian or a Chinese copy, and you don't know. But I mean, a lot of people try to create a lot of awareness of that. And it's with AI, it's the same thing. You know, I do get on my feeds on Instagram, I get a lot of people that play guitar, whatever, and it's brilliant. But if you look at, and the people look very nice, usually chicks with guitars. But if you look at how they place the fingers and what you actually hear, it doesn't make any sense. It's just AI generated. And the other day I heard a song on Spotify and I thought, hey, that's cool. And I was looking at it and I was looking up the singer. Turns out to be an AI generated thing. And the song's great. And I thought, what the hell? Am I supposed to like this because I like the song? And it's the same thing with what you said about the box arts. I think a lot of people don't see it that way anymore. They just think, hey, it's cool box art. But And we had a discussion of this a couple of nights ago, Margot and I, because initially I said, yeah, well, what's the point? But the thing is, a lot of professional painters losing business because of it. And for the manufacturers, obviously, it's a lot cheaper to do it by AI because, a painted box art of a figure like a 54 mil figure would be like 500 to 800 euros. That's low end. Could be a lot more. And in the end, the consumer has to pay for that. And if an AI generated picture costs you, 1 minute of work, basically, you're going to save yourself a lot of money as a manufacturer. So I don't know. Maybe it can be a blessing, but I think in general, it's a bloody nightmare. It's a nightmare.
But people who paint their own box art or give other people the opportunity to paint the box art, when they go to a show and install on the table their new stuff painted, then they sell more because people they're always allowed to take the figure and look around and they really see how it's painted. If people only have the AI picture on the box, it's not the same. It's not the same. So I don't say that AI maybe will not win, but I hate it. I hate it.
I completely agree with you. I don't like it neither. I just think it looks completely wrong because, like you say, if you've got talented bigger painters that you're able to put absolute superb levels of detail in, I think it's better than AI because you're able to see it with the naked eye, and AI being generated is just...
If you come to the show and you walk around, and of course I speak from the fairs, if you walk around and you see these tables and where people show you the real painted, then you see the people are standing there for a long time and talk with each other and they can take it and look at it. And then they are more convinced to buy it because they saw it in real life. And I will never support AI products.
Coming back to scale modeling, I think the 3D, the development of 3D is a blessing of the time. You see, well, it can be. I mean, as long as it replaces PE, I think it's a blessing because PE is just a nightmare to work with at times. But you see so many nice details on models that are really fantastic. And that, it's just jaw-dropping, amazing stuff what you see. On the other hand, you have to recognize that a lot of it is just a board piece that you can stick on a model and it doesn't. Yeah. So, but for some people, it's still quite a challenge to glue two pieces of plastic together properly. So, I mean, it's not just a smooth ride if you have all that stuff. But to be honest, I'm not an aircraft builder, but a couple of guys in the club are, and and we were looking on a certain show. We were looking at some contest models a couple of years ago, and I said, "Oh man, look at the cockpit! That's fantastic!" And blah blah blah. You say, "Yeah, but it's a 3D decal that you just stick on." And now you have all these pre-painted things as well, like safety belts, and everything is not everything, but a lot of stuff is pre-painted. And then I think, where's the craftsmanship, right? But maybe I'm just an old sub.
No, I completely get it, Robert, because I build whatever I particularly fancy, and at the minute I'm on with like ships, like Second World War ships, and the 3D printed stuff that you can get that will have ladders already installed on them and everything else, and they're so fine in 3D printed resin that it beats photo etch. Photo etch for me is the biggest killer of a hobby because if you don't get it right or you glue it in the wrong place, it can be stressful. But like you say, with 3D printed, it makes it that little bit easier because all you got to do is just cut it off the base plate, sand it a little bit and put it in and it's done. And then it just enhances that model a little bit further because in 3D injection molding, they can't get that amount of detail in because it just wouldn't work. So with the 3D elements, I completely get where you're coming from.
And then also changes, the way that models are being judged, it changes that way unless you make special classes or categories for stuff with a lot of 3D printed pieces in there or just out of the box or whatever you're going to call it. We don't do that. One of the main criteria where that models are being judged at is the finishing. That is not to say that we don't ask our judges to look at the construction, because construction, especially in the master level classes, has to be flawless to get a gold medal anyway. Definitely construction is part of the game, but that's why we also that's why judges really look more at the finishing and how techniques are applied and used. And because I judge in competitions as well, and sometimes you see models where a lot of techniques have been used, a lot of weathering techniques or painting techniques have been used just for the sake of it. There's no plan. It's just because they read in the book that you should do A, B, C, D, and all these steps, and then smack it on a model, but there's no plan, and there's no reason why something looks like what it looks like. And I think that there's a lot to gain still. I think, especially with beginners or maybe intermediate modelers as well, that they should learn how to apply these techniques, especially in these days where so much is readily available. I mean, I dish all my PE tool clamps. I have all my PE tool clamps I don't use them anymore. I bought them all in 3D, so it's a lot less work and it looks much better anyway. Yeah.
Well, for the figures, I think that 90% of the figures is 3D, and it makes them really, really, really more beautiful and also easier to paint. Hand sculpted figures are really difficult to paint. It's because you have not the strong edges or whatever. You need to do more to build it together. And it's, for some people, they only want to have hand sculpted figures, but the most that I have and that I painted, or at least the last couple of years, is 3D. And it's all about the nice details, especially the hair. It's almost impossible to do that by hand. And I think the most hand sculpted figures is in the historical, but even there you have a lot of 3D.
Yeah.
And I think for that I embrace it, because it helps the people to paint them easier, and the details are amazing. So 3D is, for me, that's a
blessing.
That's a blessing. Yeah. And especially if you have many figures and you buy a lot of figures and you paint a lot, you see the well done 3D and the ZBrush bad figures. You see it when you have it in hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But companies cannot longer afford to have only hand sculpted figures.
No.
It's impossible.
Okay, just to go back to a point that Robert made earlier, going back to detailing cockpits and things of that nature. 3D printing, I think, especially some of the pre-painted, is covering an area that we're all suffering from, which is a lack of time. And you're putting detail that normally wouldn't be seen into a model that can be done a lot faster. Otherwise, you're spending hours, tens of hours, hundreds of hours on an area that you're not going to see that much detail in when you've put the thing together. So I think in some respects, if it gets more people building faster and building more, it has a benefit there. But it also detracts in some ways when you look at the materials that Tom Annis puts out with the super detailing the cockpits. That's great, but there's a compromise between time and the quality that you're working on.
Well, and there's the other thing, because what I just said was merely from my standpoint, from organizing a show and people entering competitions. I think to the modelers, maybe not so much your listeners, but there are a lot of modelers in the world that don't even know that shows exist.
Yes.
So they just build models for that, we should all build for fun to start with, but they just do it for that relaxation. Maybe they build 2 models a year on the kitchen table on a Saturday, for example, and that's what you just said is absolutely true. And for them, it's perfect. For them, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's why I have nothing against it. It's just that for me as a non-fly guide, I can appreciate this craftsmanship, but sometimes I don't know what I'm looking for at either. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. But not everybody that is in this hobby actually visits shows or enters competitions. So yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah.
True.
Obviously, running an event of this scale, because obviously I have seen pictures of SMC and it looks absolutely superb. It must have its fair share of memorable moments. Looking back over the years, what's the one story or perhaps one disaster that became a success that still makes you smile today?
Oh, that's a good question. Oh my God.
Oh, one guy from the club. He's not long a member of the club, but he was for a long time.
Not because of this. No.
And no, not because of this, but he was always the one who was the last one leaving the bar. The bar is the upday bar. That's the bar. That's the focus point in the evening. They have the Belgian beers and all the beers. That's everybody who visit the show knows the upday bar. And he was always the last one. But the venue, the hotel, is crazy. You need a map to find your room. And he couldn't find his room, and then he woke up in the hallway or whatever. Or one night he went to his room and he found his room, but there's also these machines that
The vending machine.
So he took Mars with him to his room, and when he was in bed and he was eating Mars, he was falling asleep. So the next morning, Mars was biscuit. And that's a story that I will never forget.
The sheets were covered under in the Mars.
Everything was chocolate. Everything was chocolate.
Yeah, but one of the accidents, I'm not really sure. Nothing happens by accident in our show.
No.
I organize it too well. That's my problem.
But the fun thing that we had in the past was the karaoke. Yeah. But we cannot longer do it because it was in the
we had
in the bar downstairs, and
they had a second bar in the basement.
Yeah.
And it was more like an old English pub with the darts board and everything else. And there was a stage where we had live karaoke. So we had a French guy that did actually play guitar, sang, and people could join in. And that was always, that kind of happened by accident because he was a figure painter. I don't know if he still paints because I don't see much of him anymore. But he was a figure painter. And then at one point he said, why don't we do it? Why don't we try it one time? I said, well, why not? And it's been a success for a couple of years.
Oh my God.
But now they had to renovate that basement bar because of the air filtration system and blah, blah, blah. And the venue don't want to invest in that anymore. So we don't have that particular spot anymore. But we decided recently that next year when we have our 20th anniversary, we will have that karaoke thing again. So everybody with a singing voice or
not singing voice,
doesn't matter as long as
drunk enough to and breathe.
I sound like a shrieking cat with I sing.
Yeah. You're kindly invited next year. Yeah. You just have to find a place.
Hopefully I'll be there next year. I just can't come this year because unfortunately I actually fly to America on the Monday as SMC happens on that weekend. So if it had been any other time, I would have definitely have gone.
Next year will be great.
Next year,
greater than ever.
No pressure.
Up close 16 and 17 next year. Yeah, next year, 20th anniversary. It's going to be special. So special with a lot of surprises that are so secret that we don't know ourselves what they're going to be, but we're going to make it something special. Trust us. Yeah.
But what accidents there?
Yeah, but I think that was
fun thing.
Yeah, but that's what that
is. Pins to the left, pins to the right, drunken people.
Don't mention drunken people all the time.
Happens, Robert. It happens at Scale Model World at Teldo.
Yeah.
The pubs just get absolutely rammed, and the nights are absolutely hilarious. Cracking bunch of people.
I can remember that at one point that somebody was I think it was on Facebook, and somebody says, yeah, but where are the pictures of the models? I only see drunken guys hanging out in the bar. That was true. That was on Saturday. That was on Sunday morning or whatever.
Yeah.
But then again, there are about 3,000 models, figures and scale models in competition. that are being photographed every year by one of the guys. And a couple of days later, he puts 3,000 pictures on our FTP, and they're available online. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always fun in the evening. Yeah. It's amazing during the day. People need to stop me if they see me, because I even pass my own grandchildren, because I'm like out ahead, are running around. So, and it's always fun. And then I talk too long over here, and then I need to go over there. But then in the evening, it's amazing. Yeah. And all the people from all over the world, from Japan, from whatever, from all generations are coming together and hanging around there in the bar and having conversations and having fun. And even outside, even if it's October, they are sitting outside and hanging around. So yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
You know, the difficult thing is for me to go to bed and not hang out until, you know, deep in the night.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, because the place used to be a convent, not that old, but used to be a convent, and then, so it's kind of a labyrinth of aisles and stuff, and there are corners everywhere where people can sit and have a drink, whatever,
Playing games.
and playing games, whatever. And so a lot of people just, when the bar closes at 1:00, then they still, hang out all over the place. So for me nowadays is that I have to go to bed a little bit earlier than I used to, because first of all, I'm not getting any younger, and I have a job to do. I still haven't announced. I have an award ceremony to take care of. So I can't afford losing my voice.
Last year was the first time that I didn't make it until the end. Otherwise, Robert and I, we always stay last man standing on Sunday, and then hand in hand, we walk through the whole long hallways, and then looking back and say,
Nobody's there.
Nobody's there, just you and me. Where is everybody? Everybody is gone. Yeah. So that's always a sad moment.
Yeah. It's always like, you had a weekend where years ago, there was a Greek friend of ours, Michael Contreras. He was the first time at our show in 2015. And on Sunday evening, I asked him, I said, did you enjoy yourself? And he said, are you kidding me? I haven't seen daylight in 3 days and I'm still laughing. So what do you want? So that's it. Everything is under one roof. So that sums it up pretty much.
Yeah. Well, I think the most special year was World Model Expo.
Yeah, which wasn't even it was an SMC on steroids.
It was an SMC on steroids.
I don't know if you are aware of the whole World Expo thing, but we organized it in, supposed to be 2020, but then obviously COVID interfered. 2021 was nothing. And then in 2022, we had our World Model Expo, and I think we had over 4,000 models in the competition, and it was huge. And because
3 days,
because it was really 3 full days, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it was in the summer. So we had on Saturday evening, we had a big barbecue out there, and everybody's asking us, why don't you do a barbecue again? And I said, well, SMC is in October, dudes. I mean, imagine that. Could be anything, right? Could be nice weather, but it can also rain cats and dogs. So you don't know what it's going to be. But everybody, a lot of people are still asking, why don't you do that? Why don't you do it? So because of that. But the World Model Expo was for us, I think, and I truly believe that we set a standard that how a World Model Expo should be organized anyway. So we set the bar pretty high, I think. And partly because everybody came out of that COVID period, it was buzzing. Everybody was really, I don't know, there was just an atmosphere that was incredible. And I can't describe it, but it was just great to see everybody again after 2 years. I mean, that's basically it. And it was just a great manifestation of happiness and friendship. And that's just what it was.
Yeah.
And I even get goosebumps now that I'm talking about it. It was really a great show. And that was such a big turnout from all over the world. And I think, that may have been the highlight.
Yeah. And also that we bring the modeling into the World Model Expo.
Yeah.
That was, in the past, it was always about figures. Mainly. And we did, just like we did SMC, we did also the World Model Expo. And we needed to fight.
Well, let's say that it was an SMC on steroids because, organization-wise, it wasn't much different. Just, of course, 3 days is extra. There is more.
You have volunteers.
Yeah, you have to organize a little bit more, but basically we're there. So you just work from there. And so it wasn't all new for us. And no, but that may have been the highlight. Yeah, that's true. But still, again, I'm still happy with every SMC that we do. And every year I try to come up with something different than the year before, because that's what keeps it fresh. Because with all due respect to the people that organized Euromilitaire and back in the day, they were leaning back at some point. And when you lean back, and especially nowadays where there are so many more shows that people can go to, because I think when Euromilitaire started, there wasn't much of that size around anyway. But nowadays, I don't know, there are just so many countries where they organize big shows, and we see new shows in Spain coming up. We see more shows in Italy than there already are. I think, it's people have a lot of things to choose from where they can go. But I can only tell them there's only one SMC and there's only one show where you can find the atmosphere that we have. Because actually today I saw a post from, and I won't mention any names, but I saw from a very known Asian modeler who is going to a certain show, and I'm sure he's going to be very, very disappointed to be there. And I thought, why the hell don't you come to us, dude? Why don't you just show up at our show? Because you're really going to miss something.
One day.
One day
They will come. Yeah.
So finally looking ahead, where do you see Scale Model Challenge in another 10 years? Are the ambitions or ideas still on your wish list that you'd love to bring to life?
Well, to start, I told Robert that he's not allowed to stop with Scale Model Challenge, because in 3 years he is retired and then he needs something.
Keep you going? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just keep me from harassing around all day. Yeah.
I remember that years ago, I told Robert, because it takes a lot of our life. And I said, well, probably we need to stop when I'm 60. I think I said 60 or I said 65. I don't know.
You said 61, you said 65 once.
And now I don't talk about stopping anymore. I'm 69. So in 10 years, maybe in my wheelchair or my Sputmobile or whatever, I'm running around.
Well, I'm turning 64 this year. So
he's younger.
To be honest, every time you think, okay, how long? The thing is, I know I will continue as long as I have 66 idiots that sign up to volunteer every year, or 70 plus, to help out, because organizing everything the whole year before is one thing, but getting it done just requires a lot of hands. And a long time ago, one of the guys in the club once said to me, listen, I joined the club because it's my hobby. I didn't join the club to organize a show. And I said to him, organizing and working 2 days in a weekend at a show, or 1 day at the time, is still a difference. But I know what you're saying and I hear you. And nowadays, I'm always very happy to hear members of our club saying, I'm very excited, and that's a couple of months ago already. I'm so excited for the next show, and I'm really happy. And I'm already, they took that days off, because that's something else that you have to consider. People have to take that days off from work to help building up the show, because we start on Thursday. Other people just have it, and they have to take a day off, or 2 days off, or 3 days off, because some are dead on Monday as well, so they have to recover. And I really appreciate all that effort that people put into it. So maybe in the whole year before, they are not really involved too much in the real organization of this. But I am really grateful that I have so many people that show.
Without that, it's impossible.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing. And for me, it's important that I keep people enthusiastic to help out with the show every year. So I have to put my grumpy side aside sometimes and just be a happy dude. Motivate people to help out.
Yeah.
But because the event itself, I think, is motivation, and there's a lot of motivation for most of them. It's just up to me to, put the icing on the cake, I guess.
Okay, so for those that have been living under a rock and don't know the details of SMC, where and when is the event, and where can our benchmates find out details for where to buy tickets?
Okay, so the most important thing is you go to scalemodelchallenge.com, where you can find all the information you do need and you don't need and you don't care about, but still think is important, I think. You find everything there. A link to the ticketing website, the prices, the opening hours, the address and everything else. But for the lazy people, it is on October 17 and 18 this year, Saturday, Sunday. It's open daily from 9:30 until 5 o'clock. And it's in the Netherlands, in Veldhoven and H. Koningshof. But I think for the address, I think it's best to go to the website and find all the details there. You find all the details for the competition because the competition registration opens August 1 and closes, I think, October, 2nd of October this year. So you have 2 months to register your models. What else is there? You'll find full program on it at one point. Everything is ready yet. But we have some nice guests, actually. We have, for the figures or the fantasy people, Paul Bonner as a guest this year. We have Marcus Nichols this year as a guest, the editor of Tamiya magazine, for one, and a very great modeler. And we have Greg Siller from the United States as a special guest as well. And all these 3 guests will be interviewed by Chris Manning in individual Q&As that will be spread out over the weekend. And people can, come in the room where the interviews take place. It's a small hall. So there's plenty of space, but that part of the show is for free and people can join in and ask the questions to those people that they want. So I think that's a very interesting thing to do.
For the figures, we have a lot of workshops.
Yeah, we also have, that's basically all figures.
Yeah.
The only thing we have...
Friday, Saturday.
Yeah. We have, I think Tyson Harms, the owner of Alpine Miniatures, is doing a workshop on sculpting. I think he still has a couple of seats. And we have Lisa Vivarelli from Italy doing a workshop on ethnic skin tones and tribal tattoos for, ones who want to do that. There are still some seats for that. All the other workshops are sold out. So yeah. www.scalemodelchallenge.com. I mean, you can find all the info you need. You can really find all the info you need. And if you still need more information, there are a couple of contact forms for specific areas of the show that you can use, and we'll try to respond as fast as possible.
Well, that website is where Nevs and myself bought our tickets, our weekend passes for the event, and we were too slow in getting hotel accommodation. Yes, that is a thing.
That's a thing. That is a thing. And I'm honest with you, the hotel has 500 rooms, and there are about 20 that they allocate to airline crews for the airport that is quite near to the venue. And yeah, those 480 rooms, they just go fast. I mean, if you imagine, we have like 170 vendors or something, and not all of them stay. But we also have Dutch and Belgian vendors that just drive home every day. But you can imagine that a lot of them just want to stay at the hotel. So there are a lot of rooms already taken. It's just a fact. And if the place had 1,000 rooms, you still wouldn't have enough. And it would take 4 minutes to sell out, but instead of 2. But that's it. I mean, there's nothing I can change about that. I'm sorry. And that's something that was the best thing about Folkestone with the Euromillet. I mean, the hotels weren't too good, but at least there were plenty and in walking distance. And it takes a bit. The good thing is that our venue, it has a bus stop literally in front of the hotel entrance. So
the city Eindhoven,
takes
from the central station of Eindhoven straight to the hotel, and all the hotels in Eindhoven, they are all good.
Yeah.
And Eindhoven is a nice place also to hang around in the evening, and it's very easy from there to the venue. So I think we have a lot of. Do we have hotels on the website?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, but there is a list. But to be honest, I haven't.
Go to booking.com.
Yeah, I haven't
And
updated
you-
that. I haven't updated the list for a long time because I think everybody uses some booking.com,
Yeah.
Trivago or whatever. So
Yeah, and all the hotels, I mean, people can choose what they want and how much they want to spend. But in the center of Eindhoven, it's nice.
Oh, and the website is in sort of English exclusively anyway. One of the other things that I dropped years ago, everything in 3-4 languages because with Google, it just takes all the time and there's a lot of information. With Google, you can just, you can have everything in your own language. I think only the contest rules and classes and stuff is in 6 languages available. We also have, which is very important for people who want to enter the competition, we have the judging criteria also online on the same contest page in 6 languages, because I think it's important that you read them more or less to know in which class you have to enter your models, because you know what we ask the judges to look for. That's the main reason we have those judging criteria online. So people are not putting their models in the wrong class. So
It happens.
it happens. Well, they don't put an aircraft in a tank class. You rest assured, but there are some things that might be different from shows that people are used to. So that's the reason I'm saying it.
Fair enough. Okay, it's easy to look at Scale Model Challenge and see an incredible weekend of modelling, shopping and competition.
Yes.
But our conversation has shown just how dedication, planning and passion goes into creating an event of this calibre. If you've never experienced Scale Model Challenge before, hopefully this will have whetted your appetite to actually make the journey to Eindhoven to participate and to attend. Margot, Robert, thank you very much for your time, and we look forward to meeting you in person in October.
Yes.
Yeah, looking forward.
Looking forward to that. Thank you. Thank you very much, guys.
Bye, guys.
Are you looking for top quality paints for your next project? Then look no further than the Scale Modeler Supply. Hi, I'm Scott, and as a passionate modeler myself, I've spent years creating the SMS product range, designing them specifically with a scale modeler in mind. We've worked extensively to develop our acrylic lacquer paint range to not only be airbrush ready straight out of the bottle, but also to be very easy to use so that anyone of any skill level can create professional results with minimal effort. Just give the bottle a good shake, pour into your airbrush and spray at 15 psi. So dive into your next project with confidence, knowing that you're backed by one of the finest hobby paints on the market. Head over to our website scalemodeler.com.au to check out our full range and to find your closest retailer.
Head over to modelpodcast.com and explore the best modelling podcasts available today. A worldwide podcast hub curated by Stuart Clark from the Scale Model Podcast. Coming up in episode 36, we will be joined by Jamie Tranter from Hollow Crown Miniatures and Paul Regan, formerly IPMS UK President, talking about wargaming.
Well, that's it for episode 35. So, from Shane,
Take care, Benchmates.
from Dan,
Thank you for your time, Benchmates.
Nevs,
Goodbye from the AI.
and from Boulders. And Boulders has gone.
You absolute whopper. You absolute whopper. 3, 2, 1. See you next time, Benchmates. Nevs, you're an ass. You're an absolute ass.
And for myself, thanks very much for listening. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.
Benchmates, we'd like to take a moment to remember someone many of our benchmates will remember from the show. Back in episode 17, we had the pleasure of welcoming IPMS Farnborough member Julian Edwards, who joined us to talk about the branch, its members and everything they had going on. It was a lovely conversation with someone whose passion for the hobby shone through. While recording this episode, we've received the very sad news that Julian has passed away. During that interview, Julian spoke about how much he was hoping to visit Scale Model World in Telford this year. Sadly, although known at the time in the interview, Julian was fighting terminal cancer. And on the 27th of July, he very sadly lost that battle. Julian was one of the many people who make this hobby what it is. Generous with his time, passionate about modelling, and proud to represent his local branch. From all of us here at Beyond the Box Art, we would like to send our sincere condolences to Julian's family, his friends, and everyone at IPMS Farnborough. Our thoughts are with you all. Blue skies, Julian.